That again? Great great grandpa was what?
Yeah. They came over to Aurelia in Simcoe County. He married Anne McNamee in June the 16th of 1843 in St. James Church of Aurelia.
That's great great grandpa.
That's your great-great-grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's Ball.
Yeah, that's Ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the name?
Gideon
Gideon.
and Anne had 12 children. Sarah was firstborn, then a set of twins. That set of twins was George and Richard. These were of interest to me as George, born on September the 11th, 1846, was my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Richard was the grandfather of Marjorie Lauren. That's the woman I told you about in Red Deer. And she just turned 98 this July.
Oh my.
Yeah. When he wrote this, she was 91, but now she's 98.
Wow.
And is in a retirement home. Now she just had a stroke, so they had to put her into senior care home. Yeah. And her daughter just felt terrible. Yeah. And Anne was born in 1823 in Cork County, Ireland, and died on the 5th of June, 1883 in Aurelia. Yeah. And Gideon remarried, and the 1891 census shows that Gideon was 70 years of age and was married to Marion, who immigrated from Scotland and was a Presbyterian. Yeah. Gideon died on August the 28th, 1897. Yeah. He said there are a few blanks still to surface, but now you know quite a lot more about your great-great-grandfather. Well, that'd be your great-great-grandfather. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, next I'll pass along the information I have on your great-grandfather. Now that would be my grandfather.
Right.
Yeah. George Ernest Ball, the son of Gideon and Anne, was born on September the 11th, 1846 in Medonte. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Then in Scotland?
A county. No, this would be Aurelia. Around Aurelia.
In Ontario?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. George. Yeah, because he was in Aurelia. No, maybe not. Maybe that is something county. So, and George was married twice. His first wife was Amelia Robbins on the 24th of February, 1876. I have no other information about that marriage. George's next marriage was to Mary Jane Cuppage because that's Grandma's name was Jane Cuppage. Yeah. On 16th of April, 1884, Mary was the daughter of John Cuppage and Matilda Cuppage. John Cuppage was born in the year 1821 in Cork County, Ireland. Yeah. His father, Joseph, disowned him when he went into business, so he left Ireland and never went back. So that's why he was in Aurelia, yeah. Matilda was born in the Barbados in June 1821. John and Matilda had 9 children. That included Mary Jane, that's my grandmother, yeah. Married to George Ball, April 18, no, that can't be, that must be my grandmother. Mary Jane, was that her, Mary Jane Cuppage? Yeah. Alex, who inherited Silverwood House. George and Mary had 4 children, Mary Matilda and George Ernest. That's my uncle, yeah.
Now, you say Silverwood House, is that the picture we have?
This is Silverwood House here.
So what picture do we have? Well, that's Grandma's.
Yeah, that's Grandma's. This is Grandpa's.
Right.
Yeah. And then Albert John Raymond, my father, that's your grandfather. Yeah. Yeah. Because they only had 3 children. Yeah. And that would be, we didn't call her Mary though, we called her Catherine. And Ernest and Albert, yeah. And Albert being my dad, yeah.
Right.
Aunt Katie and Uncle Ernest never married. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he has it here now. Katie, Catherine, or in brackets, Katie, was born in 1898 and died in 1943. And she went over to Ireland. I've got her letter that she wrote. She went over and visited the people in Silver House in 1931. And George says, I have the letter she wrote describing her visit to John Cuppage. But George sent it to me now, so that he said he was getting old and he wanted it to come to me now. Yeah. So I've got that letter, yeah. And John Cuppage died in 1891 in Aurelia Township. Alex returned to Canada when Silver House was sold in 1939. He died in 1958 at the age of 98. Mary Jane died in 1910 in Aurelia. And then he's got love to all, George. Then he's got love to all, George. But up here on the, yeah. He calls it Gideon 1. So there must have been more Gideons in the family, yeah.
So then Grandpa came to Canada. And what year?
Well, we're not sure whether he was born in Aurelia or born in Ireland.
Okay.
And he didn't really know, but we always celebrated St. Patrick's Day, being that the Irish descent anyway, because we weren't sure. Okay. But then he found out also he had 2 birthdays.
Oh, Grandpa.
We celebrated his birthday on August the 4th, until we'd been married, what?
A long
about
time.
10 years.
Yeah.
And then he had to get his stuff for his senior stuff and everything. And here, his birthday was September 29th.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. So then after that, he celebrated 2. Yeah.
So what?
He celebrated 2 birthdays, yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. He thought it was 2, yeah.
So then when did Grandpa meet Grandma?
Yeah. That's Livingston Tartan. I have to go to make exactly sure. Oh, this is poems that were written by this was written in 1930 by Alex Cuppage. Yeah, no. He hasn't gotten married on that chart. And that's all about the Livingston Tartan.
And Grandma comes from the Livingston lineage, right?
Yeah, Grandma comes from the Livingston lineage. Yeah. No, wait, it's anything. They were married in 1924.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they met in Ontario.
No, they met. Dad was here at a farm around Sedley, where he was looking after horses. Dad was always interested.
Right.
Grandpa was interested in horses, and he came here to do something with the horses. And it says here, at the age of 18, he moved here. Yeah.
From Aurelio to here.
Yeah.
Or to the Saskatchewan area.
Yeah. A farm near Fillmore, George has here.
Okay.
Yeah. So he first went to Fillmore. And he's got here that at this time he met and married Agnes Barr. But Mom was at her sister's and an aunt in Sedley, and that's where they met, on a farm in Sedley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we have that picture. You showed us that picture yesterday of where the farm that they met at.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This couple remained together for 67 years and raised 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. Yeah.
All bad. All bad.
So they were not. They were all good.
All the girls
Okay, who
were
were the
bad.
brother and sister's mom?
The oldest is Jim,
Yeah.
and then came George,
Yeah.
and then came Bill, and then came Mary,
Okay.
and then came John, and then came Marion, and then came myself, and then came Isabel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the 8 children, yeah. And Dad was a carpenter. And yeah, who mastered the art of carpentry and cabinet making. He could play almost any musical instrument, which
Yeah.
is true, yeah. The organ, the piano, the violin, the guitar, the mouth organ, the banjo. Yeah. He was active in church work and also active in the Salvation Army and Parkdale Sunday School.
Yeah, Parkdale.
Yeah, we all went to church in the morning and then Parkdale Sunday School in the afternoon. And then back to church at night. That was our Sunday.
Oh yeah. Same thing with the Catholics.
Yeah.
Church in the morning, and then we had benediction at supper, after supper.
Yeah,
We didn't have
that's
anything in the
right.
afternoon, because that's when the baptisms and whatever took place.
Yeah. And it
We went
says,
twice.
yeah, he
Every
gave
day.
his time freely to any worthwhile cause and was liked and respected by all those who knew him. And that was true, yeah. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was written by somebody else. I don't know who that was.
So when Grandpa and Grandma Grandpa and Grandma Ball met, when did they move to Regina?
I have to find that out.
married in Regina, or were they married out at Fillmore in that area?
That's a copy. And this is his. He wrote out his own. The Life and Times of George Ernest Ball. That's his for his kids. Yeah. And Life on the Farm, that was his. Yeah, he's done an awful lot of research.
Uncle George.
Who did all the research?
George,
George. Oh.
yeah. George and Sandy and Susan, yeah. Now this is a school, but I don't know whether it's the school I think it's the school my mother went to. Yeah. Because this is her file, I'll have to look and see. Oh yeah, this is a copy of the letter from County Armagh in Ireland, where she went to visit. Yeah, but I have the exact letter now. Yeah.
It's definitely in school because it's got heats up in school.
Yeah. But they were very well respected over there too, because when she went over, she met the mayor and everything else over a tea at the house, and yeah. But when Grandma Ball went to Scotland, she wanted Grandpa to go to Ireland. But he said, being from North Ireland, there was too much trouble there. He said he didn't want to go. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Grandma was born in Scotland.
Yeah, she was born in Scotland. Yeah. And she only came over when she was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here. No, this is on David Livingston. Oh, that's the Cuppage bunch again. Here's Grandma's writing here. Yeah. Now, this is all the dates of her sisters and brothers on there, I bet. Yeah.
So I'm not sure when they moved to Regina.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it's written in one of the letters. I think it's in Lily's letter when they came to Regina.
I thought you said they came in 1924.
That's when they were married.
Yeah,
They got married then.
yeah. So
Oh.
they had to be over here before that. Yeah.
And so if they met in Fillmore or someplace, Saskatchewan, they must have dated there, and then
Yes, they must have. Yeah. He's got pieces all over. Yeah.
You like chocolate nuts?
No,
I was gonna
Yeah.
throw you one.
no,
Now on.
Huh?
no, I'm trying to stay off the sugar today.
Open your mouth.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Now, this is in Grandma's writing herself. There are two stories of the Barr family dating back to Richard II, 1377 to 1399, when the north of France belonged to England and was called Brittany. Richard brought over 6 sons of a farmer named Barry. That's what it is. Barri. Yeah. and gave them a part of Ayrshire for a home in return for their service in the army. My great-grandfather was George Barr. My grandfather was Thomas Barr. My father was William Barr. Father had 5 uncles: Robert in Australia, William, John, and James came to Canada. Yeah. Yeah, theirs goes back quite a ways in, but John and his best friend Ralph Barr thought they had to be related. They're both tall, and they both look similar with the nose. And so they thought they had to be related. And so they were the ones that started to go back. And they got as far back as Brittany. Yeah, yeah. But they weren't related.
Oh, they weren't, eh?
No,
Oh.
no. His name's Ralph Barr, yeah. And he had his genealogy, but they never did cross. Isn't that funny? Never did, yeah. And Ralph Barr is still his friend. Yeah. This is on David Livingstone. This isn't how he became into our family. Oh no, this is where she was writing it again for Isabel, but never finished. Yeah. So I copied it. Oh man, I did a lot of that copying. No, I think I have to now. Here's her writing again. Now I'll look up Agnes. No, she hasn't got any. That looks like a sweater pattern. That's my mother, yeah. No, I haven't got it here. Oh no, this is, oh, I stuck this in the wrong, yeah.
So Mom, what year were you born in?
1930.
1930. Dad, what year
Yeah.
were you born in?
Pardon?
What year were you born in?
When was I born?
Yeah. What year?
1927.
27.
That makes me 80. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's one of the houses that was built by George Ball.
Oh.
You see,
Ooh, is that pretty?
George Ball.
George Ball, yeah.
Wow.
My great uncle.
Was he a bricklayer, yeah?
Huh? Yeah, his.
Boy.
It tells you right on the
And
thing.
where is
that-
that house located?
In Ireland,
Oh.
Yeah,
wow, it's
yeah.
beautiful.
yeah. Both the silver one and this one are heritages now over there.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And the one in Aurelia is a heritage property now, yeah.
So then let's talk about Grandpa and Grandma Folk then. Now, we talked about when
Yes.
they came over.
Yeah.
Well, they were destroyed in 1967.
Yeah, but rebuilt.
Was it?
Yeah, that's how the guy got the picture, dear.
Oh.
Yeah. But it tells you on here that, yeah. Thomas, and built by George Ball to serve as a house of shelter for the aged. Yeah,
So here's what Grandma.
yeah.
I'll give you this back here too.
Oh, yeah. I wrote that one too, yeah. Okay. Now, your mom and dad came from Romania.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad was born in Basarabia, but what was the town's name, dear?
Oh, honey, I don't know.
Is Basarabia a province there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
You know,
Judy knows the name of the town because
That's where Grandpa Folk was.
Grandpa Folk, yeah. She had to do something for grade school, and she wrote it all up and then lost it.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was sad. But anyway, but they came over from Romania. Romania was put on the ship manifesto.
okay.
Yeah.
And
And-
that Grandpa and Grandma, or just Grandpa?
Grandma Folk, we don't know much about.
No, not much. Grandma folk apparently worked
Yeah,
for my grandfather.
your grandma,
Huh?
your grandmother.
Or no, I think
Yeah, your
grandmother.
grandmother had something the matter with
Sugar,
her.
they call it sugar diabetes. They call it sugar sickness. That
Yeah.
was the way they know is
Yeah.
sugar diabetes. Yeah.
Yeah. And Grandma Folk went there very young
Yeah.
to work for her and help her because, and look after the kids because your great grandfather took your great grandmother all over trying to cure this,
Yeah. I don't
what
know
she
much about
had.
it.
Yeah, because at that time they really didn't know. They called it a sugar disease.
Yeah.
And he traveled her all over trying to find a cure for this. Yeah, and that's how she met Grandpa, because and she worked in the orchard with Grandpa, and did the baking in the house, and.
And this is over at that province you're talking about.
Yes.
Alpharobia, okay.
Yes, in Bosarabia, yeah. And then the Russians came in and they conscripted all the young men. And Grandpa had to go to war. And
What year was this? Do you remember? What war was that?
I don't know, son. That's the trouble. Had to be in 18 something.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Because Dad was born in 1901. And no. Yeah, his birthday was 1901. So it has to be sometime, if he was old enough to go to the war.
That's been the
I was
first
born in
war.
1927, so between those two dates, that's when the war must have been going on, eh?
Must have been the first
Between the
World War.
Russians
Yeah,
and the...
in 1917 is when
Sounds
it
like the
started.
First World War.
Yeah. And Grandpa said one time he was sleeping out in the forest, which they did then in the service, and he said he woke up and he thought he woke up and there was this big black animal sitting on his chest. And when he went home, he told his mother about it, and she told his dad about this, and his dad said that being superstitious, they thought that meant death was coming to my dad's dad,
Yeah.
and so they wanted them out of there, out of the army, out. And that's when they started to find out how they could get them across and get them out of the area altogether. Yeah. But how they got from Bosarabia to wherever they caught the boat, I don't know. Nobody seems to know that part now. I mean, yeah.
That's too bad.
And it must have been, scary with all the, and him trying to get away from the Russian army.
Right.
Yeah. And another couple came with them. What was Mr. Rink's name?
Who?
Mr. Rink?
Oh, John.
Yeah.
That's
He
funny.
had come before
Yeah.
Dad had come. And of course, Uncle Andrew and Aunt Frances came. And I guess more than that. We don't know who else came with them. We don't know. But when they landed in Quebec and they knew the rinks were here in Saskatchewan in Regina, so Mom and Dad took the train to Regina, but Aunt Frances, that's your grandfather's sister, her and her husband went on to Kelowna. They wanted to be in a land more like what they lived in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hilly.
Yeah.
Fruit orchards.
Now, was Grandpa
Yeah.
and Grandma married when they came over that way?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they got married and worked on the great grandpa's orchard? And,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have no idea the year they were married.
I don't either.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
All I know is my dad told me my mother worked in the vineyards and she would plunk me down under a grape tree
Yeah.
and she used to fill up with grapes. She said I was just full of grapes. I love grapes, eh?
Yeah.
But what years was I don't know.
Yeah. But when they came over on the boat, it was 1930. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were actually born in Romania then?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 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 It had on the manifest 2 years old, and Pius John. That's
No,
how.
it was just Pius. John was given to me when I got confirmed in church years later.
Oh well.
My name was Pius.
It was the Pius that Stacy got a hold of, because there wasn't very many Piuses,
Right.
and then she followed it through. Yeah.
Right.
Because Francis' name, they had Renita, and Grandpa's name, they had Xavier, spelt different altogether than
Yeah.
he spelt his name. Yeah. So she couldn't go by those two names.
Right.
Yeah. And
Safira.
Mom's, huh?
His name was Safira, something like that, in German, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
And they couldn't trace it.
yeah.
Safira. That's it.
But Grandma's name was Frances, and how they got the other name, I have never known.
Right.
Yeah. But see, they couldn't speak English,
Right.
and that's how we got the name Folk,
Okay.
because the fellow at Customs couldn't understand Grandpa, and Grandpa couldn't write it in English.
Oh, gee.
Yeah,
So it actually should be like it's spelled there. V.
yeah.
Dad says it should be really V-O-L-K. I don't know where you get that spelling from.
Well, this was with the spellings on the manifestos.
Is that right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we got two of them, so we don't know exactly which one
Yeah.
is.
Actually, in his hometown, it was V-O-L-K. And when the guy asked him, he said, "What's your name?" Dad would say, "Volk." And the guy didn't understand me.
Oh,
So he put on F-O-L-K.
Oh,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And it's stuck with us ever since.
Huh?
So the one VOLIC would be closer to folk. Volk or whatever. Yeah.
So then Grandpa and Grandma Ball were living in Regina,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you were, well, you don't know when they moved here, but were
No,
born in
I
30.
don't, because John was born in Tegasky, but Mary was born in Regina.
Okay.
So it's somewhere in those
Right.
3 years. We're all spread apart by 3 years, and Isabel and I were spread apart by 5.
Okay.
But the rest were at least 3 years. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, and so Grandma and Grandpa. Now I'm assuming they moved to Regina and stayed in the house that they were in.
No, not the house that they were in
Oh,
on
there,
Broder
okay.
Street. Yeah. When they came here, it was Mr. Rink that talked Dad into staying. He was going to go on to Kelowna.
Yeah. Dad was already booked to go to Kelowna.
Kelowna,
And then
yeah.
he bumped into Mr. Rink.
Yeah.
And what I can figure out, Mr. Rink talked my dad out of going there
Going
because he
there,
said
yeah.
things are tougher in in BC than they are in Regina here, like
In the
Saskatchewan here.
Yeah.
And the first house they lived in, I remember, was on the 17 block Broder Street. It was a very, very small house. And right across the street was another friend of my dad's, and their name was Schnur. They also came from the old country, but a couple of years prior to all this. And we lived on the 17 block Broder for a lot of years. As a matter of fact, I can remember walking, I was just a kid, from Broder Street all the way to Little Flower Church, which was on College Avenue, which was quite a walk Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
And then we moved from there to the 20 block Reynolds, which was a duplex house. The owner lived in the front, and Mom and I lived in the back. That was on the 20 block. Right, we lived there for a lot of years too. And then we moved from there to 21 block, not Broder Street. Yeah, Edgar. Broder Street. Yeah, again on Broder Street, but this was the 21 block on the other side of Victoria Avenue. And we stayed there for a long, long time because it was cheap, you know, during the Depression, the war was on. You just didn't move, And then we did finally move to a bigger house on the 23 block of McDonald. It was the corner house, 23 block McDonald. But it was a cold house. We froze to death in that place. We couldn't sleep upstairs because the furnace downstairs was useless. It didn't put the heat upstairs. So we slept all around the furnace downstairs. No kidding, the whole family.
And how old do you think you were then?
I must have been 8, 9. Terry was born then. And yeah.
Jeez.
And then we moved to... Wait a minute, Terry was born in Reynolds Street. Or even on Broder Street, but the 17 block Broder. I forget now. And Dorothy was the one that was born when we lived on the 23 block Broder. She'd know more about that than I would. And then we moved that cold, cold house over to where you were born.
Yeah.
The 21 block Broder. That little house there.
Yeah.
And I was working selling newspapers at 13. And between what Dad was able to make and what I was able to make, we saved enough money up that we bought the house that we were living in, that you were living in now, and we also bought the house across the street.
Oh,
2154.
Yeah, and
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
no. We owned both houses,
Yeah.
during the war, and we rented the house out to
A bar.
a bar.
Yes,
And they
another
were-
bar.
yeah.
No relative at all.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bar, and they were there for I think a long time, and Mom and Dad were living across the street, and then that's where I met your mom, and Johnny was born, and we stayed at your place for about a year.
No, we stayed at my place until he was 8.5 months old.
Yeah, then we moved over to Princess
Balls.
Street,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
didn't we? We moved over to Princess Street. Remember that
Yes.
basement
yeah,
street,
yes.
which was
yeah.
colder and blazes
Colder
too.
and blazes. Yeah.
We moved over to Princess Street. In the meantime, my dad says, "Why don't we build a
suite
room
in the
downstairs in the
base.
basement?"
Yeah. He said,
So
"Why
between-
live over there?" Yeah.
Between my dad and I, we built the room that was downstairs in the basement.
2154.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah.
The
2154.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta
We-
go back here a little bit. I'm mixed up.
Yeah.
So the 2157 Broder Street. That's where you guys had the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what Johnny and I and Ruth.
But that his mom and dad, with his help, bought that little house and they lived in it.
Okay.
Then they bought the house across the street,
Okay.
Yeah.
and they lived in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you rented 2157.
But rented 157. Yeah. And when we got married, his dad gave us the house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we could not, at that time, we had a rentalsman, and we could not get the family out because Mr. Barr had a million excuses why he couldn't afford to buy anything else and all this. And the rentalsman wouldn't put him out. And that's why we lived at Grandma Ball's first while we were trying to get them to move. And then we moved to Princess Street
Yeah.
because we didn't want to
Live with Mom and Dad. We had the
live
one
with-
room there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. Yeah, and Johnny was a very colicky kid at that time, and so we didn't want to disturb them all the time.
Right.
And so we moved to this place on Princess Street, And then we still couldn't get them out. And so that's when Dad and Grandpa built the suite downstairs at their place.
Right.
Yeah, because they were both working, and we could be in the house in the daytime and it wouldn't bother anybody. Yeah.
Well, before we go too far from there,
Yeah.
how did you guys meet?
Oh, how we met? Bob Barr, his friend, but was also my first cousin. And he brought him to the house. And then,
No.
yeah,
Bob
Bob Barr.
No, Bob had told me he had to take you and Leah, not the, Lee, to our date that one night. Yeah. He
Oh
said-
yeah,
he
that's
said,
right. He said,
I got two
I
girls,
gotta
he says,
take my cousin out.
and,
yes.
and her girlfriend. I got to
And
take
her
them out.
girlfriend. Oh yeah,
And he
that's
said,
right.
how about you coming along and keeping me company? He said, nah, I didn't feel like going. I didn't want to go anyway.
Yeah.
What car did we have? I think I borrowed Mr. Fiesel's car, didn't we?
I think you did. I think you
Yeah,
had
Mr. Fiesel was a
Fiesel's
good
car.
friend of mine.
Yeah.
He was a traveling salesman, and during the week he traveled. Come home Saturday, I got the car, but I had to clean it, clean it all up, wax it, polish it. And everything. So I had the car for Saturday and Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
It was a beautiful car, a 1949 Mercury fastback, beautiful car.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when Bob
Yeah.
made the arrangements to pick these two girls up, he said, "Come on with me." So I got Mr. Fiesel's car, and we drove to Moose Jaw.
Yeah. The Moose Jaw.
Yeah, we drove.
Yeah.
We didn't go. We went to Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
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 And
Lee was sitting with you, and I was sitting in the front with Bob,
But
and then we changed
we
places.
changed places on the way back. Yeah.
On the way back.
That did it.
And that did it.
That did it.
Yeah.
So then we started going out regularly. Go to our place,
Yeah.
and then we finally got married.
Yeah.
So what were you doing for? How old were you when you met
Who?
Dad? How old were you
Yeah.
met?
What was I doing?
How old were you first when you met Mom?
About 21, I think.
And what were you
Yeah.
doing for work?
Oh hell, I worked in a body shop for 4 years, 5 years prior to that. I painted my first car before I was 15 years old.
So how did you get the body shop job?
Well, during the war, there was no men to do anything. So the youngest boys, are 14, 13, they got the jobs. And I worked at Vic Alley's when I was around 12, setting up pins. And then I promoted from setting up pins to running the place at 13, which I really didn't like. It was all night working, day and night. I worked 15 hours a day. And then I didn't like it. I wanted to work with cars. I wanted to be with cars. So then I applied at the labor board, and they said, yes, Regina Autobody is looking for help. You go see Howard Carroll's, which was the boss. I went to see him. Yep, he said, you can start working as a helper, a painter's helper. And the painter at that time was Paul. The first name was Paul, he's Jew anyway. And he taught me how to paint, eh? So Paul quit or got fired for stealing stuff. And then I had to do all the painting. I didn't know much about painting. I knew a little, but not much. But Tony Schmidt, which was a German, he knew a lot about painting. And so did Clarence Thompson. And between the three of us, I began to paint cars. And before my 15th birthday, which was December, I painted my first car. And then I became the painter at Regina Autobody. I was there for 4 years.
He was
And
there when we met.
We
He was
I met,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob was my helper there for a while. And we met that way, eh?
So what year again did you guys meet?
In 1948, and we were married in 1949.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
Yeah.
And what were you doing, Mom?
Pardon?
What was Mom doing at that time before you met Dad?
I was working for the Cancer Society as a Cancer Society secretary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and Dad, you met her when you were 21? So you must
No.
you were 8.
No, you were 22
Could be.
because I was 19.
Could be, I don't know, 21,
Because
22.
at that
Who cares?
time
What
you
the hell?
couldn't get, yeah, at that time you couldn't sign the certificate to get married. And my dad told him, he said to Pat, what if I don't sign it?
Yeah.
He kept teasing him. He wasn't going to sign me over. He wasn't going to sign me over. Yeah.
For heaven's sakes.
And then when we were making the plans too, he says to your dad, he says, now, you can't use anything on her that won't go through that little ring finger, because I had a ring on there. You can't, yeah.
The biggest trouble was I was from the East End.
Oh, yeah, my dad.
And back in those days, even during the war years, the East End was taboo for the people from the other side of Broad Street. If you lived on the other side of Broad Street, that was, that time, the west part of Regina. Believe me, it wasn't very big. And from Broad Street that way was the east side.
Yeah.
And if you lived on that side, you were nothing but a hoodlum.
Yeah.
Oh, the east side had the worst reputation of being gangsters, hoodlums, you name it.
Yeah,
And
that
you
was
couldn't-
bothering my dad
Yeah,
so
you
much.
couldn't
What
cross
kind
over.
of man is this? What
You
kind of
couldn't
kid
cross over.
is this? You know. So
And we found out that I lived on the 21 block road. Wow. Had a hard time.
Yeah, he gave me a really bad time.
Yeah.
But
It's all fictitious. There's only two guys on the east side of Broad Street that were bad, and they were called Patty Jenner and Jim Jenner. Patty Jenner was a real shyster, and so was his brother Jim. Just the two of them. They created more havoc and more trouble than the whole east end of Regina. But that's how I got the bad name here.
yeah.
And they were in and out of jail so often it was unreal.
But Dad was very protective of his girls
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And I had to laugh one day. This Mr. Jarvie was sitting at the table, and they were all having tea. And he turned to my mom. My mom is like this too. And he said to her, Agnes, he says, don't you worry about your 4 girls. And she just turned around like it was natural, and she said, I wouldn't have to worry about my 4 girls if you taught your boys right.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, you know. But they were both protective, and he thought from the East End, you couldn't have met anybody from your own end. He said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Johnny was born, and we lived at your mother's place too, didn't we?
Yeah, that's
and we lived
right.
at the crib there, or
Yeah.
the bassinet.
The
Where
bassinet
did you
there.
live in Grandma's?
Huh?
Just in the one small
One room.
bedroom, you know. But I mean, Mom still did everything, and I helped her cooking and everything. But we slept with the bassinet and everything in that small bedroom. Yeah.
Right beside the bathroom.
Yes.
Corner, okay.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
That's
So,
why we moved from there to Princess Street.
And
Yeah.
were all the other kids out of Grandma's house already?
Yeah. Isabel was the only one
Yeah.
that was home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Where she stayed?
Well, she's had the other bedroom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
so
John was-
Grandma Balls was only 2 bedroom upstairs, wasn't it?
Huh?
Grandma Balls was only 2 bedrooms.
No,
upstairs.
at that time there was Grandma Ball's bedroom, and it used to be Isabel and my bedroom, and then the piece at the back was John's bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that there was the 3 bedrooms.
So then Grandpa must have expanded it to 2 bedrooms later.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah. He made the living room and kitchen bigger because the family was bringing home married, and so he cut that bedroom right out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we started, and then finally, the bars moved, and then Dad and I went over to the house, and when we first went into the house, I thought, oh my goodness, because we had a slanted kitchen, you know.
You remember that, do you?
I don't think I do know.
Okay.
I don't think he
No.
would, yeah. And there was the coal and wood stove, and a stove you put coal and wood in the living room
Living room, yeah.
to heat the front of the house, and a chimney that ran from the front right through the wall and through to the chimney.
I remember that.
Yeah,
That's what kept that middle room warm.
yeah.
Those pipes got hot and they kept
Yeah.
the room warm.
And I thought, oh my goodness, okay, you know. And then finally, my dad and Pat, they ripped off the roof and then made a proper kitchen. And then Grandpa built me the cupboards that were all in the kitchen. And we put the electric stove in and everything, yeah.
That
And
was
then
the biggest mistake.
furnace downstairs.
Boy, I tell you, I used to love that I come home from work, and that
he used to like
coal and wood stove was my baby. You know,
Yeah.
I was always cold, and at the end of the stove was a water reservoir, which was always nice and warm. And I sit on that thing to warm up, or I put my feet into
in
the oven. You know, to
Yeah,
warm up,
you would. Yeah.
And then lots of times with the coal and wood, we take. That's where it all started from. We'd slice up salami,
Yeah.
and I had an old fork. I'd stick the salami onto the fork and put the salami into that flame. It tastes good. Don't you remember that, Jim?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Boy, I tell you, it was just delicious.
Yeah.
Then I got stupid. Gas came along. They
Yeah.
approached us and says, "We'll put the gas line in. It'll only cost you $75. We'll bring it up to the meter for $75 to dig it all," which was cheap, eh? Okay, this gas thing was in there. So then I began. Oh boy, that was a hell of a job. I had to tunnel under the basement. Oh,
Yeah,
what a
because
job.
it was only partly
Yeah.
basement.
To get the
and
pipes
put
to
the
go from the
furnace
furnace
in.
here.
Yeah, he had to
I
start
had to tunnel
tunneling
all
under
the
the
way
house.
along to put
Yeah.
the pipe by the register there, eh? And then tunnel over there. I sometimes got stuck in there. You know, holy mackerel! I finally got it all done,
Yeah.
and then I got Balzer to come along, which is a good friend of mine, and he put the furnace in. And then we had gas, eh?
Right.
Then we got rid of the
Got rid of the heaters.
heater.
Yeah.
We got rid of the chimney up there, and we got rid of everything else.
The
And
oil
then
tank.
her
You
dad,
guys,
huh?
you guys used to have used a big oil tank in the backyard.
Yeah, because
Well,
we
that-
had an oil furnace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the oil furnaces for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once we got rid of that, the mom put or was it you? Yeah, you put that
Yeah.
partition between there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had my dad, like, there was a round partition
there, yeah.
I
between.
remember that.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
They're all
Yeah.
large?
Yeah, and then Grandpa put the dowels in.
It dials in,
Mom
yes.
made them, yeah.
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 And I said to Grandpa, well, I'll finish them off, you know. And so I stained them, and then he came and looked, okay, that's good. Now you can varnish. And I put the varnish on, then he came and he said, now you got to sand that down and put another coat on.
She did all that.
And I said, why? And he says, you just do it, I tell you. So I sanded them all down again and put another coat on. And then he came and told me I had to do it again. And so then I did it and then hand rubbed them, and they really look nice. Yeah. So,
And was the hardwood floor in the dining room always there?
Yeah.
yes. Yep. Yeah.
We used to,
In
You
the
used
kitchen-
to slide on
I
that
know.
thing? Yeah.
And the kitchen had the oilcloth.
The oil, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
remember-
because you would start in the living room and yeah.
And climb up the walls.
I
Yeah.
remember the living room had a rug, didn't it?
Yes, yes, yeah. That's what gave you good traction to run
That's
to
right,
slide
yeah.
across the dining room floor.
And you'd always, I used to come home from school and remember the smell of the polish on the wood.
Yeah,
Such a nice memory coming home and you'd smell that.
clean smell of the, yeah. Yeah, because I used to varsol and wax them. And,
With
yeah.
that big machine.
Yes, with
Yeah.
the big machine. Because I like the look of wood and yeah. And there's wood under here, but I just got so busy at the shop I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's
Where was Judy born? She was born in that house.
in that house too. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jim was born at where?
In that house.
Was he?
Yes.
I remember Judy, because I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just
Yeah,
a baby.
Jim.
I remember she peed on me the first day I brought her home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
First day I brought peed on me. I should have given her back.
Yeah.
I remember Mom used to have a music box.
Yes.
Who?
The music box. You don't have that anymore, do you?
No, I
A music
don't.
box.
I don't know where it went,
Jewelry
Jim.
music box.
Yes.
You open it up and it played.
Yeah.
Was it a piece?
Who knows?
No, just a minute.
And then we moved here back in 1964.
Yeah.
No, 67 or 8.
68.
Yeah, I built the body shop.
Well, I moved to the 109 Academy Park Road.
Kept Bardick
And
Road
we were there
first.
probably, I think, longer than 6 months because I remember
Oh,
John
yeah.
having to drive us to school too.
Yes.
And it was a
Yeah.
long drive.
And that's where he started driving you in the band in the white
Yeah.
station
The
wagon.
way station wagon.
Yeah.
You had the old,
Yeah.
I can't recall were the suicide doors, Dad? Was
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
a Thunderbird.
The Thunderbird.
No, this is before the
No.
Thunderbird. Yeah,
T-Bird.
No, it was before that one. It was an old Chrysler something or other that John had, or John was driving, and it had.
Oh,
the
maybe
suicide
John.
doors
I
on
can't remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. because that's why I had to go that time and back your trailer in because John didn't know how to back the trailer, and neither did I.
Well, onto the pad, right?
Yeah, holy.
Boy, what
But I got it there.
Stayed there for a little while, and
Yeah,
then
but that was just too much for me. And it was really because I ended up in the hospital. We had gone out to what was it, a football game with Irene and from Academy Park Road? Irene and Ken?
Ken?
Yeah. We had gone somewhere anyway, and I had sauce on my hamburger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and when we came home and everything, they came in and we visited a while, and I felt funny then. And then during the night, I woke up your dad, and I told him that something wasn't right. I couldn't breathe. And so I think you drove me, did you? Or did you call the ambulance? I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
But anyway, because I was really kind of out of it. And he took me to the hospital, and here it was food poisoning.
oh, geez.
And I was in over, no, that was on Broder. Because remember, and that's why we moved from Broder to Academy Park Road. Because it was just over Halloween, and Betty took Judy out Halloweening, or did she come and pick her up from?
I can't remember.
I can't remember anyway, but the doctor told me then too, he said, he said, your body is really stressed. He says, what do you do? And it was the heart specialist. And I said, well, I just work and look after a house. And he said,
Ouch.
well, he said, I think there has to be other stress than that, And I says, well, I drive. I'm in the car an awful lot. And he said, and work and house. He said, I think that's a bit much, And so that's when we went back to the shop, and I phoned this realtor, and I told him exactly what I wanted. And so
Burger.
he said, yeah. He says, well, I'll go out and look. And then he found out that Berger had built this house, and he was going to have to build another one because they were expecting more family.
More family.
And so we came and looked at the house and everything, and Berger said, well, I can have my house done by December.
Yeah. That was
And
whole day.
so,
Oh.
yeah. And I said, well, okay, if you can be out by December, and we'll move in. And that's just what we did. We bought it and moved in, yeah.
And you're building the body shop at the same time?
No, the body shop was up at the
But,
Oh,
yeah, that's why.
body shop was up in
Yeah.
1967. We moved in here in 68. I moved into the body
Yeah,
shop
yeah.
in the early spring,
Yeah,
May, and
Yeah.
moved into the new body shop. I had the body shop on
Yeah.
Osler.
Osler.
Osler, which was
Yeah.
just a shack. I worked
Yeah.
there for 3 years, damn near killed myself.
Yeah.
I moved into here.
Yeah, and see, it was the stress of, at that time, running you guys to school
Yeah.
and everything else. And I was in the car more than the shop, and then trying to keep up with the shop, house and yard. It was just
Anyway,
too much, yeah.
Well, didn't
Yeah.
didn't you have to build the shop because they changed the rent or something around that on Ulster Street?
No, we built the shop because the property out there went into commercial.
Right.
And I think, who was it that was telling you about the price of the land out there?
yeah, where now?
Yeah, where we're
That
now.
was, you could buy
Yeah.
property there real cheap. I think it was $1,500 a lot.
Yeah,
Which
something
was
like
cheap,
that. Yeah,
and I bought 2 lots,
yeah.
and I rented 6.
Oh, she.
Yeah, with the option to buy as many as I wanted when I wanted. And that meant all the way from where our building was, almost to the opposite corner, up where Kemsall was. That was all my property. But I bought the 2 lots where the 50 feet. No, 3 lots. Pardon me.
Yeah, 3 lots.
3 lots.
Yeah.
Those 3 lots were mine,
Yeah.
and from then all over was all rented property. And we did a lot of work for CVA. That block was always packed. And then Albert Myers came along, and he wanted to build there too, eh?
Yeah.
And I should have kept it, but
No, yeah.
I should have kept it. I said,
I
okay,
don't
Albert.
think so because Drina and I have been friends ever since.
And I said, okay, Albert. I said, tell you what, I'll keep I kept 5 lots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lots for mine, eh?
Yeah.
The 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I said, you can have everything from what you want. So he just bought 50 feet. No,
Yeah.
he only bought 25 feet. Yeah, he only bought 1 lot.
Yeah, at the start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and from then on, it's just plain developed,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
She,
I should have kept the whole damn area.
Yeah, but when they were building, and she was working there too, and I was working at the shop, and we got to really know each other, and
Right.
yeah.
So
So
how did you manage that risk?
Huh?
How did you manage the risk? It must have been, you must have,
scared, and we were scared of debt,
yeah.
like you wouldn't believe. But we had to go to the bank and borrow the money from the
We
bank.
borrowed the money for the
Yeah.
bank for the house.
And
borrowed
the
the
shop.
money for the
Shop,
building.
yeah.
I borrowed $25,000 from the bank
Yeah.
to build the building, build Pat's Auto Body.
Gee.
And I don't know how the heck did we ever get the money for the house.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
We had the
And-
down payment and
Yeah.
everything
We made
from
the
the
they were
Broder
cheap
Street
payments. They
and
weren't
everything.
expensive, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And,
then we bought the house and the shop together. And this way it was easy, and there
Yeah.
was a school there, and
For
it
you
was
guys.
just and it was just John could drive you guys. You were in Miller at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's been a lot of change at that particular time with
Oh,
teenagers and
yeah,
new business and a new house. My gosh.
yeah, yeah.
Biggest mistake.
It was the stress of going into debt.
Yeah.
That much. Of course, we thought it was just overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the mistake then?
Huh?
You said the biggest mistake was
It's
what?
buying this house.
How come?
The stupid railroad track.
So tell us about some of the trips to Como Park that we used to take
Yeah.
as kids.
Which?
The
When we-
Coma Park.
Como Park.
Yeah. Well, okay. This one time that the guys always went fishing real early in the morning, and then they went golfing. And we needed milk for you little guys. And so I said to Terry, well, it can't be hard to drive a car. And I said, we watched lots enough, And so we got in the car, and on the way to the store, which wasn't too far, but it had rained, the road was muddy. And we got the car stuck. And I said to Terry, I know one thing. I said, they rock the car. They go back and forth, and that's how you get out. Well, we went forward and backward, and we still stayed in the hole. So Terry says, well, I'll get out and I'll push a little bit. You drive.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. And so then I heard her yelling, stop, stop. I went out. She was covered with mud from the And so there we were on the road, sitting on the bumper, laughing so hard we couldn't do anything, So finally we got in the car, and of course this was one that you had to shift into gears, and so we finally got it that it would go out slower, instead of trying to spin my wheels. And we finally got out, and we went to the store. Well, Mrs. Johnson looked at these two muddy ladies coming in, and she couldn't believe it, and she started laughing. And so we get back in the car. We have to get this milk back home, back to the cottage. And Terry says, what are we going to tell the guys? I says, I don't know. She says, do we have to wash the car? I said, no, I think they'll know we used it. And when they came back, they saw the car. Well, they couldn't believe it. We had done such a stupid thing. But we got back without an accident anyway. I don't know how come we did that either.
Well, yeah.
We must have been desperate.
The park was close to Gatepo, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's, but they were all gravel roads. And of course
Yeah.
it had rained and the roads were all soupy. And
yeah.
Oh. And then the one time the guys were out fishing and we thought that we would get in the dinghy, which we had. You remember the dinghy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Terry and I thought that we were going out that night, so we had our hair in rollers, but we'll just put the bandanas on top of them. And we put sunglasses out, and out we went in the dinghy in our bathing suits. And when we came back in and took our glasses off, we looked at each other. We just looked like raccoons. And Terry started to laugh and laugh, and then you could see where we tied the bandana. Oh, it was just this disaster. But we tanned really good. Well, I should say burned really good. Yeah. Oh.
But that was the beach that had lots of rocks, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. You had to wear your running shoes in the water because
Right.
some of the rocks were sharp.
I
Yeah.
remember that, yeah.
Yeah, you
Which one
kids
was I
used
thinking
to
of telling about?
fish on the pier.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
used to,
remember
yeah.
that. Yeah, Olivia got video of that. That has some video of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Well, Dad, you were talking about the tents.
yeah.
Oh, sleeping in the tent.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, a lot of times we go out there and we couldn't get the cottages because they were booked. So Mr. Johnson, we went there so often that we always call him Daddy.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'll pitch you a tent,
Yeah.
one for Ruth and I and Johnny,
Yeah, you
and
weren't
one
there
for
yet.
Terry and
yeah.
Ernie." This night we put Johnny to bed. Started to cry. Started to cry. And he howled. And he howled. And he howled.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Johnson, she could hear it in her house.
In her cottage.
And she
yeah.
says, "What's wrong?" I said, "We don't know. I don't think he's sick, but he's just screaming his little head off." Well, she said, "Well, tell you what, why don't we bring him in the house and we'll put him between her two girls." She had two girls, right?
Yes, yeah.
So we got him put him in the house, fine. All of a sudden we hear him yelling and screaming like, "Hey, what the hell?" Couldn't figure this out. So finally around midnight, I got Johnny. I said, "I'm going to take him home because this is no good. He might be sick or something." So I drove from midnight until about
Yeah.
4 in the morning.
We brought him home.
Huh?
Yeah, we brought
couldn't
him
get, you couldn't drive fast. 25 miles an hour, tops.
Yeah.
And Como Park was about 75 miles away. Anyway, I got him home, dressed him, slapped him in his room,
Crib.
put the little light on.
Right to sleep.
Never
missed
did a
it.
whisper.
Yeah,
Oh,
the night light.
he forgot his night light.
See?
Oh, jeez. So I got up next morning, half dead, packed him up again, drove out to
And then
Como
go
Park. We finished our whole thing. Oh God, he just
I remember that night
screamed.
light.
Yeah. He had to have the night light, yeah.
His little night light.
man,
Oh,
yeah.
Johnny.
But we couldn't figure out what was wrong. He was dry,
Yeah,
he
we didn't know
was
what was wrong.
burped, everything. But every time we laid him down and turned off the light, he cried and cried. Of course, we didn't know that when you turn off the light, you need the night light on. Oh,
Yeah, correct. But we didn't have a light. We had a candle or
Yeah.
we had those kerosene lamps.
kerosene lamp,
We
yeah.
had to blow them out. Oh God, how we ripped it.
But we had a lot of fun out there.
First thing in the morning, you could smell. What
Yeah.
Boy, that smells great,
Yeah.
Get out of bed. Here's Ernie. He's got the old pot hanging over top of the fireplace. He make a big bonfire with
Oh,
Had the kettle over top. You put coffee in that thing, and you could smell it
Smell
through
it
the whole
camp.
Just smelt the coffee. God, it was nice, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
I remember one time we were out there, we stayed in a cottage where you had the light in the middle of the room with the pole.
Yeah, well, that was later on.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah. And I don't know, it was different then. Everybody was out there and you all had fun. Like
Yeah.
the whole place. It wasn't like now where you don't speak to anybody. Everybody talked to everybody. And we had a lot of fun out there. Yeah. But,
Yeah, and we lived on salami and
yeah,
onions
and onions
bread
and
for
fish
weeks.
and
I'm
fish.
telling you, that's all we did.
Yeah,
The same
yeah.
salami we have here now.
Yeah.
We'd buy about 2 or 3
Rolls.
but they're a lot bigger.
Yeah,
About that big, eh?
yeah,
And that's all we lived on.
Yeah.
Salami,
Yeah.
fried onions, and bread. Because they had the onions up at the store there and the
Yeah.
bread. And
And
that's
the
all
milk,
we lived on
yeah.
until we caught fish. And then we used to live on
yeah,
perch.
on the perch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Ernie
I
and
had to laugh. Like they would go as soon
The sun
as
came up.
crack
Yeah.
the light, and then they'd come in and they'd come into the bedroom. Look at we got, look at we. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we catch perch. You
Yeah.
could catch perch.
Perch or pickerel.
Oh, by the tubful. And of course, Mr. Johnson, he was an old fisherman. He says, "I'll show you how to clean these in a hurry."
Yeah.
And he showed us how to fill it, eh?
Yeah.
And we'd fill it a dozen fish, and we
then
had them for breakfast, eh?
yeah, fry them in
Put them in a
butter
frying pan,
and-
one side over, and eat them. They were good, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
man.
But
And we lived out there.
We had
Oh,
a lot
Lord.
of, and you guys played at the beach all day long, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. Yeah. Terry didn't have anybody then.
No,
You guys were older when she got David.
Oh,
Yeah. But she really enjoyed you guys. Yeah. And just as she said at your 40th birthday, that one thing he always did, he hated when small on, baby on, he hated to have crappy pants or wipe his bum. If he pooped, he didn't want to wipe that bum. Yeah. So
And we're talking about Jim.
yes, we're talking about Jim. And when we have him in the bathroom, and he'd go, and then he'd call for me, and he'd always say, "Wipe it, wipe it." And so Terry was babysitting for the first time, and Jim's in the bathroom yelling for Auntie Terry, and she goes in, and there's Jim with his little back end over and his head down. Wipe it, wipe it. And she said, "Wipe what? Wipe what?" She didn't know what he meant. So she reminded him of that at his 40th birthday.
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys should take us out to, it wasn't Katepwa, it was, it might have been Katepwa Beach. Was it Katepwa Beach all the
Yeah,
time?
Yeah,
all the
Katepwa,
time.
yeah.
Katepwa Beach,
and there
yeah.
was Como.
Because it wasn't quite so stony there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And at
Yeah.
Como Park, it was very
No, it was rough,
stony.
yeah.
But at Katepwa, you had sand you could play in and run out in the water in. Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember going out there a number of times and the water was just green.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
bad one year, it was all algae.
All algae, yeah. And you had to come out and shower, yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Shower, they have any showers there to bathe them, that's all.
Huh?
And no showers.
No, they had the water stand and they.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, as you drive up, yeah. I remember.
Yeah, that's right,
All
yeah.
that stuff. And, yeah, I forgot, you guys used to take us out tobogganing by the airport lots.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
lots.
yeah, there's lots of fun
Lots of
out
time.
there, yeah. Because they had that big hill
up
that
there.
came down, yeah.
The hill's still there.
It's still
The hill's
there.
Oh.
People still use
like
it.
a mountain.
Is that right? Yeah, it used to seem really big to little guys,
That's right,
yeah.
yeah, it's like a mountain to me.
But we knew you couldn't hurt yourself there, so that's why we took you out there.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and that, and when you learned how to skate, we took you over to the skating rink by the school there and
Yeah.
taught you how to skate. And
I have
yeah,
pictures of you holding me up.
yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. That
Yeah, and then came the band.
Yeah, the band years.
And the
Oh,
music
yes.
lessons with Fedorchuk.
Yeah.
Wally for door chuck, yeah.
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 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you,
That-
when those kids, like Johnny played the guitar, okay? And Jim there, he played the piano.
Keyboard.
Was it
Yeah.
Piano?
Keyboard. Yeah.
Keyboard. And then they formed the band. I don't know who'd you get for a drummer and...
Daryl Unser?
Daryl answered
no,
the first time.
before Daryl
Yeah.
Unser. Yeah, somebody before Daryl.
No, Daryl was the first
No,
one.
no. Think, Daryl came after.
That was Daryl Unser.
Yeah, there was somebody before him.
I don't remember.
I forget who it was. And guitar.
Oh,
Tony Fro?
just
Yeah.
just a
Fro.
minute.
Fro.
Tony.
Remember we
yeah,
had all that trouble out at sea?
Yeah.
What was the name of that dump out there?
Dumber.
Dumber.
Yeah.
These kids were just young, eh? And Dumber, their bookkeeper, booked them out there for a dance.
Book.
These young kids, 12, 13, or however old they were. And their singer,
Bob Hesse?
Bob
Hesse.
Hesse,
Yeah.
was a tall, good-looking kid. Was he flirting with the girls or what?
Yeah.
He was hitting on one of the girls, the pretty girls in the town that was used to go out with the big guy there,
yeah.
the big
Yeah.
tough guy.
Anyway, after the dance, these guys got after these kids. Well, they loaded up the little Pontiac I had and the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, these guys started chasing these guys. I don't know what the hell the real story behind that was, but you guys, found shelter in some farmyard?
Oh, it was just a nightmare.
Pardon?
I'll never forget
Nightmare,
it.
yeah.
Oh, it was just awful. And it was the first trip out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
And
13 and a half. John just got his license. at
just got
16.
his license at 16.
Oh my gosh, we were chased. We could have all been killed so many times.
Oh, so many times that night. That's what I said to Dad. I said, our prayers must have done something because
Really.
those kids out on those roads, they could have rolled. They could
Oh,
have done
God, yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Anyway, they got back home safely, and then we found out
Yeah.
the next day through Mr.
Fro.
Fro, and he was kind of a real hothead because he we went back out there again, and we talked to who did we talk to?
The farmer.
Some farmer, and we talked
And
to
the Mountie. Yeah.
and a Mountie out there, and about chasing these kids. It was quite to do. Nothing ever did happen about it though, but
No.
from then
Well,
on
we don't
went,
know what happened in the town
Yeah.
because we never did go
Yeah.
back out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kids driving with that trailer, an inexperienced driver and
he
everything.
learned in a hurry.
And then this farmer, he said that he thought he saw trouble on the road. And imagine him opening the door and letting these 6 long-haired kids run into his house.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty brave soul.
Yes,
Because they could have outnumbered him if they were bad.
yes, yeah.
So then after
Right.
that we'd follow them. If they were going to play someplace,
Yeah.
we would go with them, eh?
We went out to Momart and
Momart.
we went into the building and then came out and sat in the car and listened to them.
Yeah, all night long. Jeez. And the one night, I remember we had to go to, where's it, Beaching someplace?
Beachy, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, way the heck out west here. And this is a hillbilly town,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
cattle town. And they booked
Rodeo.
this, rodeo, oh it was rodeo, yeah. And they booked this hard rock band to play at a rodeo. Well, we figured, oh boy, these
Well,
kids.
they phoned us. They phoned us and told us.
Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah, they were so scared, and they phoned the house here, and John said, "Mom, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. We're booked into a rodeo, and you should see these guys." You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mom and I, we jumped in that
Jumped in the car.
and drove all the way out there, across the ferry, right?
Yeah, I had to get on
On
a
the
ferry.
Get over there, and the kids were playing, and we just sat in the car,
Yeah.
and they went over real big.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, you know.
Ad-libbed like crazy, but went over really big.
Really big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted them back again.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Boy.
We didn't go up
So-
to the next day, did we?
Yeah, we couldn't get back on the ferry till the next morning.
Yeah. What a life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And as they got older, they'd go by themselves, and one night,
Yeah.
Johnny comes flying in here. Boom, 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 boom. What do you want? I want the keys.
Yeah.
Why? We're stuck.
Yeah.
We're out by the valley. I don't know how the heck you guys did. You slid off the road or something?
Yeah.
So Johnny gets the tow truck and goes out, out there. Did he pull you out?
Yeah, pulled us out, yeah.
Pulled them out, brought them home.
Yeah.
Ay, yeah, we got gray hair, I'll tell you.
You were finished the gig that night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
good.
They were coming home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was another time where I did that out by Southie.
Yeah.
The tow
Yeah.
truck died, or the bus we were driving stalled, so I hitched a ride to Regina to pick up the tow truck. Picked up the tow truck, drove out there, and as I was turning around the highway, got stuck in the ditch. So here's the bus about 100 yards stalled on the highway, and here's the tow truck in the ditch. I couldn't do anything. Finally, a trucker came along and hooked us up, pulled the tow truck out, then I hooked up the bus, and
Yeah. Oh, gee. Yeah. Those years, I prayed very hard.
Yeah, we sure did. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. These
Yeah,
kids didn't
because
do.
everybody kept telling us, "Oh, your kids are going to end up as druggies and dumbheads," and I thought, "Oh my God," you know.
travel there.
Well, things went better after Jack Wyatt across the street there. We got rid of the trailer,
Yeah,
and Jack Wyatt, or the kids bought a bus,
yeah,
a 36 passenger bus.
Yeah.
And Jack, being a mechanic and
He
working on
loved
big trucks, he went through that bus from stem to gudget. Eh?
Yeah.
Made sure the brakes were good, make sure the motor was good. And then we painted that thing green, remember that
Yeah.
ugly green?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But then you guys, you had your instruments in the back, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And then from there ahead, they had Chesterfields. What else? Your tables.
Oh, we had the big Greyhound bus seats.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
big bus, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they started driving in Comfort. Eh?
Yeah.
God, you had that bus for quite a while, didn't you?
Sure did, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the white Chevy van we bought?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
built the trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
first time out of town, we're driving out. Just hadn't even left Regina. Somebody clipped their trailer. Just finished.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And we took that. They had the Chevy van and the trailer, and we went out to Whitewood one night, and it was freezing out there. We're all dressed in skidoo suits.
Yeah.
And it had the heater going as high as it could go, and we're all just freezing. We thought we were gonna freeze to death. It was that cold that night.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, they had to travel all over.
Gee.
Way up north and oh.
That bus was warm though, wasn't it?
Yeah, the bus was really good because it had the two heaters.
Two heaters,
in
yeah.
the back.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really good.
If anything happened, they could have parked the bus and run it, and they could have stayed there.
Yeah, but we also had those survival candles and everything else in the
Yeah.
bus we made them carry. because
You don't know
You
nothing.
never know.
I tell ya.
Well, it's
Oh.
Saskatchewan winters. You
Well,
have
that's
to be
right.
prepared.
Lord.
Yeah. And they used to have to travel so far, you know.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder why he ever sent you guys where he did.
Oh, so do I. I was telling Marilyn on the way here. Friday night, 300 miles one direction. Saturday night, 300 miles. completely
Yeah, the other
It's
direction.
Like,
Yeah.
Just stick them both together, you know?
Yeah. That's
And they didn't pay the heck of a lot. They didn't pay the bands much then like they do nowadays, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kid.
yeah,
By
but
the
you
time you
guys
guys
thought
got-
it was a lot.
Well, it was money, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But you did a lot with your money. You bought a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
bought all your instruments and
Yeah,
big bus.
yeah,
I remember that mom got us my first organ, the Ace Tone organ.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. First one, that was it. And
What's that?
Remember the Ace Tone organ you bought?
Yeah,
Ace
yeah.
Tone
The
organ,
ace thing.
Yeah.
Ace Tone, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheesh.
I wanted them on the piano,
Uh-huh.
but
Organs.
we
was it?
had a piano, but organs were really in,
Yeah.
so then we traded the piano in for an organ, and then he went on to the organ.
The big
Yeah,
Farfisa organ.
So
Yeah.
pianos are back
Yeah.
in again.
yeah.
So looking back over the time, what are some of your greatest joys?
Greatest what?
Joys. Things that made you really happy.
Well,
The greatest joys?
yeah.
The day you were born, that was it. That was it. From then on, it went downhill. It went downhill.
No, I can honestly say I really enjoyed you guys.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the one thing I tell people when they have their kids, to enjoy them, you know? And I always regretted that I went to work in the shop because I would have rather been home when you guys come home, because before I was.
Yeah, I mean, you were home for me.
Yes, I was home for you and I was home for Johnny. But that was the one thing that I wished, that, yeah.
I think it made a difference for me.
Hmm?
It always made a difference when I was coming home. Mom was home.
Yes, yeah. And that was one of the decisions we made when you kids were small. But when Dad went out on his own, then I started to do the office work. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but they were pretty
At
big.
first, yeah, well, Judy was in kindergarten
Yeah.
by the time
Yeah.
because, well, really in grade 1, because in kindergarten I still brought them all home. I did it from home.
Yeah.
But when she got into grade 1 is when I went into the shop. Yeah.
Sheesh.
But, no, I enjoyed you kids. Yeah.
Yeah, when she gave you a licking
And one
day, too.
time, no, I didn't give them a licking.
Yes, you did.
No.
It
No,
was-
I didn't.
What?
They were walking around the house playing band.
Oh, yeah.
And John always used to put this fez hat on and a towel, and he was the leader of the band.
Yeah.
And they were going around, and they, I think he had a pail, and you and Judy had a pot with wooden spoons.
Oh, yeah.
And so I told them, okay, you can do that, but do it quietly. And they get louder and louder and louder. I thought, no, if you keep that up, then you can't have the drums. So it was quiet for a while, and then they built up and up and up again till I was just about jumping out of my skin. And I said, what did I tell you? And it was quiet for a while again. And then the same thing happened again. So I sat, the three of them, we had a big kitchen, and I put 3 chairs, and I sat each one on a chair, and I put the pail on John's head and the pots on the 2 kids. I said, now see how you like it. And they said, no, I don't like it. They never did that again. But no, I enjoyed you guys, yeah. And I enjoyed when we lived on Broder Street and Grandpa and Grandma would come over and enjoy you too,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't remember Grandpa doing that as much as Grandma.
Yeah. No, Grandpa did too, yeah. Yeah, that,
Yeah, they always over in Grandpa's garage.
That's right. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, always playing in Grandpa's garage.
Grandpa's garage, yeah.
Traipsing through their backyard in the snow all the time.
Yeah,
We wouldn't use the
going to
sidewalk.
mass.
Grandpa would just shovel it and we'd be through all the piles. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And, but he always used to, he never ever said anything
No.
when it was happening, but later on when you guys were teenagers and we were sitting talking, he says, you know, I always felt sorry for them marching through the yard on those cold, cold mornings going to serve mass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that,
And
What was
lunch.
the time when he threw a stone at this guy's car?
Who did?
not stone, snowballs.
I thought it was a stone.
No snowballs. One time you guys built a fort in the front yard and you decided you had to throw the snowballs at something so the cars would go by and you'd throw snowballs at the
does
car.
that. Yeah.
All of a sudden at the back door I hear him. And I went to the door and this man standing there with you guys like this on your collars of your snowsuits. I said, yes. And he says, these fellas are going to cause an accident. He says, they are throwing snowballs as the cars drive down the street. And I looked at you guys and you were so scared. And I says, well, thank you very much. I'll take care of it right now. And I brought you in the house. Yeah.
See, they weren't all angels.
Yeah.
kids
And
never
another
are.
thing that you did all the time that used to scare me is you figured when you crossed the street to Grandpa and Grandma's, if you put your head down,
Yeah.
the cars wouldn't see you.
Yeah.
And away he'd run, you know. He'd put his head down and run across the road. And I had a heck of a time getting him to look both ways before he crossed the street, because you figured if you put your head down and closed your eyes, you'd be across the street and the cars wouldn't hit you. But you were young, yeah. But you weren't even in school, yeah. That was the only drawback of having grandparents across the street.
Right.
Yeah.
They're always over there.
When they were really small, we fenced them in. They couldn't do that.
Yeah.
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 I was going over to Grandpa and Grandma folks for New Year's night.
Yes.
You guys would have your party and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Stay over
Yeah.
there all the time, yeah.
Yeah. You'd go sleep at Grandpa and Grandma's, and then we'd have the party. Yeah, in the house. Yeah.
Christmas,
And then
New
you'd
Year's
come-
Eve.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve,
yeah.
yeah. We
I
always
don't
had-
know why.
Everybody came to our place.
Yeah, they
I
always
couldn't
came to our
believe it.
house. Yeah.
We had a small little dinky house, and
Yeah.
everybody came
Came
from.
over.
Came, we had a house full of people, and we always danced in the dining room, right? Mm-hmm. We'd move all the tables out, and
Move the
chairs out,
tables and
put the
chairs
record
out.
player on, and
Yeah.
we danced all night long. Great.
Yeah.
You'd
Jeez.
have ripple chips with onion and garlic dip.
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
have little sweet and sour onions. Remember those?
Yes.
And homemade
yes.
sausage.
And homemade sausages and olives.
Yes. Yes.
And Dad, you know, every once in a while you'd make me a whiskey sour, remember?
Yeah.
Sharon and
Who
like-
did?
You
Yeah.
did.
Make you a
Yeah.
whiskey sour?
But it just had.
Didn't have any whiskey in it.
No, it just had the cherry
cherry,
and
yeah.
everything.
Well, the cherry was the thing I waited for.
Yeah.
Now he tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and I used to make that dip of that salesman that used to come too that died of the nosebleed. What was his
Oh,
name?
yeah. What the hell was his name?
Yeah. He had this tuna dip. In fact, I still have the recipe. And everybody would have to make this great big bowl of this tuna dip when they came. And I had cabbage rolls and sausage. And
What the heck was his name?
yeah. And
Used to
then
be the-
Betty would bring over something, and Dorothy Tiefenbach would bring over something,
Yeah.
and Helen Wingert.
Helen Wingert.
Yeah,
Oh, Helen
yeah,
Wingert too, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a salesman for DuPont.
Hmm.
And I got to know him pretty good because we bought a lot of DuPont paint off him.
What was his
So we
name?
became pretty friendly, and of course, and then one day, I forget, we heard that he died, died in his sleep.
Hmm.
And what happened, he got a nosebleed,
Mhm.
and he plugged his nose, and he bled to death.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Just a young kid, too. I bet she was no more than 30 to most.
Oh, about 30, yeah.
Something like Larry,
Yeah, they were just married.
yeah.
Yeah.
Larry, what was Larry's last name?
Lavatier.
Lavatier. Yeah. Have you ever seen him? No.
Yeah,
Brenda?
No.
We
Yeah.
talked to her the other day.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Mom sees Larry quite often.
yeah. I see
He's
Larry.
still traveling.
Yeah.
Oh, have you got the pictures of the kids?
Yeah, they're in the,
Yeah.
yeah. thing.
His
You can
kids are
see
big
them.
already.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that every
Yeah, those
year
are the
it's
days.
so nice to see how much they've grown and what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's
Remember, you used to make lunch when I came home from school,
mm-hmm.
and the lunches I used to really love was the Velveeta cheese on bread with salami.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
tomato.
Yeah,
and tomato.
yeah.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
take
yeah, yeah.
tomato on
Lunches I
top.
used to hate,
Why you-
still hate today. Is
You still make it
Tomato
today?
soup.
Tomato soup.
You hated what?
Tomato soup.
You hated tomato soup?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I come
But
home
when-
and be so excited to have lunch, and Mom had tomato soup. Oh no! It's not again. And then John and I used to really like the vanilla, not milkshake. What do they call it?
Yeah, they're milkshake, eggnog.
Eggnog.
Eggnog,
yeah.
Eggnog,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
already
because
have enough
that,
of those.
yeah, that's how I got the eggs into
And
you.
he
Now
still
you
likes
don't dare do
the
it.
cabbage rolls, the turkey,
Yeah.
the mashed potatoes, the gravy, and whatever.
And he still hates the tomato soup.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
And guess what my favorite soup is?
Yeah.
Tomato soup.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's
favorite.
That's your favorite.
Yeah, and he heard that. He's like, oh no.
Same with her. She likes cream soups, cream of tomato, cream of chicken, cream of mushroom. Oh boy. Mushroom. And you know something? That damn Dave, that's all he has every day. It's either cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, cream of tomato, cream of chicken. That's why he does not make a clear soup. It's all cream, cream, cream. Yeah. I said, make some chicken noodle soup. Okay.
So what was one of your? Well, how did you make out through the war years? Because you weren't married then, were you?
No,
war
I
years?
was
Yeah.
young then. Yeah,
Well,
I was just in
the
grade
war
school.
broke out in '39,
yeah.
and my dad and we lived on Broder Street, 2157. No, yeah, 2157 Broder, I think it was, and a little house, great big tree in the side of it. I used to climb like crazy. And 39. I was about 11 years or 12, and then I applied for a license to sell a liter post. Had to be 13, and I got everybody who sold papers wanted number 1, number 1 badge,
Oh, okay.
and for some dumb reason or other, I got it. Boy, you should see the trouble I had. A new kid on the block, number 1. I had a heck of a time with that. Anyway, my dad bought me a corner. Like, that's what you had to do. You had to buy a corner downtown.
Oh.
And he bought me the corner by the Royal Bank of Canada. It was on right across the street from Simpsons. Hamilton Street and 11th Avenue. So for the first year and a half, I sold liter post on that corner. At 4 o'clock, I'd get out of school, run down there, grab my papers, and sell them, come home. That's all I did. Help support Dad, because Dad was always sick. And then I got tired of that, and I found out that you could get a job at Vic Alley's. They were looking for pin setters, like young guys that could set up pins. What a job that was. So I worked 1 year there setting up pins during the war, and the second year, Peter Goslick made me sort of a sub-manager. He showed me how to run the place, set stuff up, write the newspaper stuff. I worked there for a year and a half, and I didn't like it because I always wanted to work with cars. So I went down to the unemployment insurance office and I said, I want a job. Like, I was working almost 18 hours a day, but there was no such thing as a labor board or whatever. You're working to death. And so finally the labor board was formed, and they came in there and they asked me, how many hours am I working here? And I said, well, I work from 1 o'clock till 6. I work from 7 till 12, 6 days a week. So they had holy mackerel, you're working too many hours. You're only allowed to work 48 hours a week. So they told Peter Goslick, he got mad and lazy. Anyway, I quit, and I went to work for Regina Auto Body. I worked 48 hours there, and that's got my painter's license and whatever. Worked there for a heck of a long time. Got married there, worked for
you were
Capital
married
Auto
there.
Body, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. And Mom, your brothers went to war, didn't they?
Yeah, that was praying years again for us, because I had 4 brothers and a brother-in-law,
Oh, yeah.
and
cool?
I had 3 cousins that were first
Where's the blue
cousins,
blanket?
all in the war, and 2 didn't come back. They have lakes named for them up north. The Pendleton Lake and Somerville Lake are named after them. And all my brothers came home.
Yeah, she was lucky.
Yes, I was very fortunate. And both Jim and John came home with medals. Jim came home with a British Empire medal. And John still won't tell me how he got his medal. But he's listed in the Legion here on a plaque for the medals. Yeah. And Bill, he didn't get overseas because in some training they blew his eardrum.
Oh, gee.
So then he couldn't go overseas. Yeah. And George was in the Air Force, but they put him in training right away, training pilots and everything. So he didn't go overseas either, but he trained the pilots here in Canada. Yeah. And then Mary's husband, Johnny, was in the Navy, and he was all over. They had him in the start of radar. And then when everybody else was being released from the services, they begged him to stay. And he stayed until he retired. Yeah. and he was working on radar, and he was down in the Bermuda Triangle and all over. Yeah. So those were praying years. Yeah. And every noon when we would come home from school, we could chatter until the BBC News come on.
Yeah.
And then we all had to be very, very quiet because my mom and dad always listened to the BBC News to find out whereabouts the troops were, and yeah. And because we couldn't tell from John, because he wrote in both sides of his letters, and of course in the war years they censored them and cut stuff out.
Oh.
So his letters came back a puzzle because you had to figure out what was on one side and came through the other side. Yeah.
Right.
But he was on a carrier, then they put him into a submarine. Yeah. So he doesn't talk about the service at all, very much, yeah. He's got lots of buddies that were with him, but he doesn't talk about it, so I don't know. And he was the one that told us about Jim. Jim didn't tell us either. But John said that their ship was torpedoed. And the captain figured they should abandon ship. And Jim said, well, with the help of the crew, I think I can get this back. And the crew was willing to be with Jim rather than abandon ship where they were.
Yeah.
And so the second in command took over. And they thought he was going to be court-martialed. But they worked with Jim because Jim said, I've learned this from my father, you know. And so it was Jim that did organize and got the guys going, and they did limp back to port. And of course the British government was so glad that they saved the ship and everything, and he saved the crew, that it was the captain that got the court-martial, and Jim got the British Empire medal from the Queen, yeah. But it was John that told us that, not Jim. He didn't say anything about the war either. And George would have really liked the medal when he died, but Marguerite kept it.
Kept it, yeah.
Yeah. And so now we don't know where it is. Isn't that, yeah, that's really sad, yeah. But what can you do, you know? Yeah. That George thought that Margarita only knew him for about a year.
Yeah, they were,
you know,
sure, yeah.
And so George would have really liked the medal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, see, a lot of people have forgotten the war years. That's the biggest trouble. They forgot. Everybody was close. There was no fighting. There wasn't such thing as robberies, or we were so concerned about the war that we were all knit tight, you know.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I sold newspapers from the day the war broke out, and read all the headlines. And then when the South Saskatchewan Regiment went over to Dieppe for the invasion, which was a great big disaster, it killed about 80% of the South Saskatchewan Regiment, that the people could only get word of who died through the newspaper. So when the newspapers came out, for the late edition, I always picked up the late edition, and they'd buy the newspaper and read it, the casualties. I know there was one lady came there and she bought the paper and flopped over, fainted, and her husband had just got killed, or whoever it was. You know, she found out through the newspaper that her husband was killed.
My two girlfriends both lost their brothers.
It was a tough time, I'll tell you.
It was a really tough time, And like Mom with her Sunshine Circle, well, they were young then, but they knitted and made packages and everything. That's all we did. We knit socks and mitts and, you know, and they were all taken as stuff to go over there, you know, to help the war effort. And through the schools at my time, I was only in about, grade 3, 4. But we put on different things. We put on a puppet show, our room, and we had to make these paper mache faces and everything. And we put on a big puppet show, and the parents came and they paid, and then all that money went into cigarettes and everything to go over there, for the boys. And everybody was doing something to help, That
Help
it
the war
wasn't,
effort.
yeah,
Tighten your belt was the favorite say.
Yeah.
You gotta tighten your belt one more notch.
yeah,
Tighten your belt,
because
okay.
Everybody was concerned.
Oh,
I
God,
mean,
yeah.
there wasn't anything, just as he said, we never locked our doors because we didn't know which cousin was going to be going through and they needed a place to sleep.
Right.
And so when we were kids, it wasn't anything to wake up and maybe find one of the cousins sleeping on the Chesterfield. And then we had to write to our brothers, which was letters. We had to, and then we had to pick one cousin. And I picked George Barr. Yeah. Bob Barr's older brother. Yeah.
George.
And all through the war, I wrote him funny letters and what's happening at home and everything else. And we had to do that all the time, you know, and to my brothers too, just so that they would receive mail and keep their spirits up while they're, because it was a really bad time over
God,
there. Yeah. And Mom and the people from Scotland and everything, that's where that picture come from. When they were in Scotland, then they would go stay with relatives. And John and Jim used to stay with Mom's brothers and everything over there, and they got to meet them and know them where we didn't. But through the war, they did through that period of time, So then if they went and stayed with them, then there wasn't phone calls like they do now. And they would quickly write a note and get it over to us. Well, John was here for a visit. He's fine. He's healthy. He's his spirits are high. You know, and you'd get that's It was a very hard time, especially for Mom and Dad at that time.
For anybody who had somebody in the war, which was a heck of a lot of people at that time. Oh man!
Yeah.
You know what used to scare us? We'd be playing. See a man with a telegram. The telegrams were always delivered by a bicycle. And a man in a uniform or a kid. And we always wondered, what house is he going to stop at? We knew if he stopped at that house and took in a telegram,
somebody
Christmas did.
was killed in the war.
My mom tells the identical story. She said they'd be playing and they'd stop.
We always
playing
shuddered
and
to see
they'd
him
watch
come down
the
the road.
bicycle guy
Yes.
go by, and then you'd hear the wailing coming from that house.
From
Yeah,
the house. That's
we're living
true.
in a pretty good age right now so far.
Yeah,
We can't
that's
even
right.
imagine that kind of.
Don't you ever
No, that's
watch some of the movies they have on the Battle of Britain?
Yeah.
Well, those stories are all true, son.
Yeah.
But when they were bombing Britain every night, that's true. We had the newspapers, and England was almost defeated, you know, because the RAF was so weak. I mean, they were good pilots, but they didn't have enough men to keep these things going. And finally, when the Americans joined in, they began to beat the German Air Force, and they started to bomb Berlin. Once they started bombing Berlin, the whole war turned around. But it was a tough time. We figured for a long time that Britain's going to collapse under the German heel.
And yet they had the strongest naval outfit, but it was in combat all the time.
Well, the German subs were killing more British ships. They were sinking how many tons a day? God, merchant vessels. We asked Jim when he came back and everything, but he just didn't. He always kept saying, "Oh, that's best forgotten. That's best forgotten."
I can just imagine.
So, that was a hard time too for us. And I was young and I really didn't understand, but I knew I had to do what I had to do because Mom and Dad insisted that we do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
But just changing the subject for a minute. When you guys started dating, what did you do?
they usually dated with Lee and Bob. And
I always got the car.
Yeah.
The Friday nights I'd get the car, I'd get Mr.
Yeah.
Fizzle's car after I cleaned it up
Yeah.
all day.
we'd
And
go
then
to
we'd drive.
And we'd go to the drive-in. They
Yeah.
had drive-ins there and
Well,
everything.
drivers were popular then.
Oh,
Yeah. And we'd go to the drive-in, or else we'd go out. Lee's parents were in the fort.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. And
You
so
drive
we'd
out
go
there.
out there and we'd maybe spend the Saturday night and Sunday till we had to come back and go to work. And that, and sometimes we'd go to Moose Jaw. Yeah. And we'd go there to that restaurant, Chinese restaurant. And we'd
Work.
go to the park and
Work.
walk around the park and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun too, but there was usually the four of us, Yeah.
What kind of dreams did you guys have that may not have been achieved? Did you guys ever have your vision set on something that didn't work out?
I think what you said.
What kind of dreams have you had that weren't achieved?
What kind of dreams?
Yeah, did you have
Yeah.
any goals you wanted to attain that never were attained, or what?
I don't know, we're too busy raising the kids.
Yeah,
Raising
that's
Johnny
right.
and Jimmy and Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I never really felt that I missed life or it passed me by because I had you kids, and then of course I had two parents because Grandma Folk was just like another mother to me.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't a mother-in-law. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better mother. Yeah. And we got along famously. So, I mean, I don't know. That,
Just busy
yeah,
working,
busy
Johnny,
and
Jimmy trying to
yeah.
survive. I
And
wasn't
then-
making big money in those days. It was,
No.
If I made $45 a week, I figured I had the world by the tail, and then
Yeah.
I built that big garage back there
Yeah.
to make extra money to keep what we
Yeah.
needed to keep you guys going. We just work. That's all I can remember.
Yeah,
Blooming work.
yeah. And
Sometimes I regret it, but
we had good friends. That,
we had lots of
went-
dances too.
Yeah, went
Oh.
to a dance all the time. I remember the girls used to come and babysit you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we always,
And we had just a lot of fun. We used to play badminton, and we used to
bingo.
Yeah,
I did bingo, yeah.
yeah. Until the smoke got so bad, I couldn't even play. They give the helpers cards to play, but I couldn't go. The smoke was
Smoke was
so
thick.
bad, I couldn't. So he'd have to go and find somebody to play his cards, but I just couldn't stand it, Yeah,
And life went by, son.
yeah,
Yeah,
really,
All of a sudden
really,
I look around,
really fast.
big 8-0.
yeah.
Big 8-0.
That's right. Yeah,
But one thing I remember very clearly, and Regina's noted for it, it was called the strike in the dirty 30s,
yeah. See,
where things were so
I
bad
was just a baby then.
that the
but,
people from the West got onto boxcars and trains and hitchhiked, and were going to go all the way to Ottawa and see if they couldn't do something with this depression we were in. We were in a heck of a depression. People were going hungry. You wouldn't dare throw a crumb of bread away. That was never heard of because you ate it. And I remember they all came to Regina here, and we lived. My mom and dad lived on the 16 block. For some reason, we always lived on Broder Street. I don't know why, but this Broder 16 block was right by the railroad track,
Yeah.
by Burns, and all these people came from the east or from the west, and they stayed there. They were waiting for another train load to come in from the west. They were all going to board the train to head her east, and they all stayed there along that railroad track. It was 4 or 5 blocks, and all of these guys that were slept in was cardboard boxes. Yeah, that's what they slept. And then when they ate, they had made a fire, and they had a black pot. They cooked whatever they got from the people there just to survive. And then not the army, but the city police finally got these. They were going to meet this one night at the market square. Do you know where the market square is?
Not really, no.
Okay, the market square is where the old police station is now.
Okay.
That was all empty and locked. It was called the market. That's where the farmers come in. It was called a marketplace. And all these people from the railroad there met there. And that's when the police came along and broke up this shenanigans. And one of our city police officers got killed by somebody, they still don't know who. And they broke up this whole thing. So everybody went back wherever they came from. And they never made it out to the east to fight with the minister or the premier or the governor, whoever they're going to talk to get this depression over with, because people were starving to death, eh? But then, of course, it wasn't long after, this is about 1937, and there wasn't long after that, the war broke out. And from one day where there was a depression, like you wouldn't believe, the next day, it was a boom.
Yeah,
where the money came from and wherever they came, God only knows. Everybody started getting work. People were called into the army, and it began to boom like crazy, eh? And that's where they changed everything around, eh?
Yeah.
There was no more recession or depression. Everybody had money, lots of food.
Yeah.
We were on rations. They put us on rations. You got ration coupons for everything. And these rations,
butter, sugar,
they were just a joke.
Like I
mean, you got enough to live on. Eh? Gasoline was rationed. Everything was rationed, but you always had enough that you could live on. Eh?
You got coupons.
Coupons, yeah. If you want to take a trip someplace, well, you save your coupons for a week, and then you would go gas up on a Saturday, and if you wanted to go to the beach 20 miles away or 30 miles, you had enough gas to get there. Yeah. And then, of course, they built a factory in Regina here, where they had, first of all, the factory was on Winnipeg. It's still there now, on Winnipeg Street. Well, they made the Chevy cars there, 36, 37, 38, 39, wait, no, 30, yeah. And then when the war broke out, that was all changed over from making cars, it converted into making tanks and cannons.
Oh, really?
All day long you heard boom,
like
boom, boom, where they were testing the cannons to be sure they worked. And they had a great big huge tunnel underground, and they'd fire these cannons to make sure they worked. And it went on day in and day out. We got used to it. You heard it after a while, you forgot about it.
And what I remember is the sound of the planes going over all the time. Because they were all prop planes, you know, and you hear the planes going back and forth and back and forth.
Especially the harbor trainers. They barked like you wouldn't believe.
And of course they were training them in Moose Jaw.
Yeah, we had to, because it was a training station here, eh? We were here in Moose Jaw. And one day I was going to school around, must have been 1 o'clock, and they had these Anson Anson, they called it Anson. It was a bomber, twin bomber, and they were teaching these guys how to fly, the pilots. And they were 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden I'm looking up there, and one guy runs smack dab into the back of a guy.
Oh,
yeah. I saw it. And he hit this guy, and he began to go up, he spiraled up and up and up and up, and then all of a sudden he stopped, and down he came. That was it. But the sky was always full of
Planes,
airplanes.
that's what I remember being a young kid.
You could hear them.
Planes
we lived
all the time,
on Broder Street, and you could hear those harbor trainers fire up, and that as the airport, hear them fire up like they were across the street. And they were teaching guys how to fly.
Hang on 1 second. Just gonna make a small change. Just a few more questions.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they built it, where the plant was, where the GM plant was.
Yeah.
Remember, because we had our building in there, and someone said if you go down a certain way. You
when you had your mind's eye production. Well, just a little bit south of that, or north of that, that's where the tunnel was.
Right, yeah.
Did you ever go down there?
Didn't go down there, but some other guys did go down there. Still there.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in that.
They built tanks in there. Tanks and cannons.
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know they did that there.
Yeah, yeah,
Go to sleep.
yeah. But
Huh?
I'm listening.
yeah. After the war is what I remember better when they were all coming home and everybody was so happy and the parties all over the place and yeah,
Oh, I bet.
you know.
Big relief, eh?
Oh, big
Yeah.
relief. Yeah, yeah. So then John came home and he started to work at Pat Burns. And then he hated that. He won't eat wieners or anything till this day. And yeah. And then he went to be accountant for Maple Leaf. And then he hated sitting at a desk. And so that's when he became a fireman on the railroad and then became an engineer. Yeah. No, he hated just sitting at a desk. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So,
So, over the years, what have you guys, from when you guys got married, what do you think the differences are to today?
today,
Yeah. What are some of the more stark differences you see?
I see today that there's really no commitment. Kids are not making a commitment to make the marriage work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the biggest things I see. I see them walking away from a partner too easily. Yeah. And I find that kids are not disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I think that's why we have kids that don't obey authority, or they have no respect for authority. For people who are older, like
Oh,
when we
God.
were young,
Yo.
I would have never called Mr. Rogerson Bill. And yet he was like my grandparents were dead. Yeah. And Dr. Moore, and as I wouldn't have called him by his first name either. Yeah. But he was still like a grandfather to me. Yeah. And the same with Mr. Rogerson. Now I knew him better because he watched me grow up. But I would have never called him, his wife called him Will. I would have never called him Will or Bill. Yeah.
No.
It was always Mr. and Mrs. Rogerson.
Mr. Kipper, Mr. Jansen, Mr. this. It's always
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Never called
You-
Tony.
Yeah, that's right. And if they asked me to do something,
Oh, yeah.
a run of errand or run, I did it. They would ask me first, Ruth, have you got time? Have you got a moment? Yeah. And then I would do it. Yeah. And with us, we were brought up to carry our load. And we weren't on a farm or anything, but when we had a wood stove, and I was older than Isabel, my other two sisters were gone, so John was away in the engine, I chopped wood. I helped Dad in the garden. I helped Mom in the house. Before I went to school, this is one thing that happened. When I went to school, my job was to make sure the dining room and the living room were tidy and clean. And we had a Chesterfield in the middle of the wall. And then Dad had a record player and speakers on this side and the radio on this side. And I always put the Chesterfield in the middle. Well, my dad would come home and push the end of the Chesterfield over so we could sit on the arm and diddle the dials on the radio. And after he left to go to work, before I went to school, I pushed the Chesterfield back in the middle, and away I'd go to school. Well, Mom watched this, as she said, for years. And then finally she sat us down one day at the table and she says, I don't know which one is more stubborn. She said, you two pushing that Chesterfield back and forth and back and forth. Yeah.
Even after we got married, it was the same damn thing. She'd do one thing and Dad would put right back the other way. That was the way it's supposed to be. But she didn't like it that way. Even here, I wanted to, it's got to go there. Yeah.
But, I mean, that was our job. And we did it, you know. And I had to laugh one day, and I was giving Judy heck for something at Grandma's, and Grandma was in total bed rest at that time. And I guess she heard me and Judy in the kitchen, and she said, Judy, Ruth, come here. And I thought, oh, that doesn't sound right. So we went in, and then she says to Judy, you listen to me. Your mom wasn't a perfect girl either. She said, she got into mischief too, and I had to straighten her up. She said, so don't you think your mom is such a good girl? Yeah, she said. But we had things we had to do, and we did them. And I find kids today, everything is so organized. They don't have time. Like after we did our stuff, we could go skating or we could go play ball. And it was always, let's get a scrub team together. And of course you go around the neighborhood and all the kids come and we play ball. You get teams and you play ball. When you're out skating, you may not know the kid you're holding hands with, but you're on the end of the whip and you're going around, you know. Now you don't see any of that. You just don't see kids making their own fun. We played kick the can and stroke a back, and you don't even hear it now.
It's a spin-off from the war. Everybody was so close during the war because of the tragedy, you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of lingered over for a few years after that.
Yeah, but there wasn't
now it's a different story.
Yeah, like there wasn't this pairing off like the young kids do now, and dates. And my first date, real date in grade 9 was Jack Carter, and I wouldn't even kiss him goodnight. You know? Like, I don't know. And now they have to pair off and go steady, and I don't know. We just had so much fun. That's why I said to you the other day, I think I grew up in the best generation. Yeah. I think I was
but
very,
a lot had
very
to do with the discipline,
fortunate.
like you said, honey. I know when I grew up, my dad says to me, if I ever hear that Mr. Kipper had to tell you something or spanked you, he says, I'll let him give you a licking, and then when you get home, I'll give you a licking.
Yeah.
You know, it was a different ball game. People there, if you didn't belong to that guy, he could still give you a blast for doing something wrong, and you weren't in trouble.
Yeah.
Today,
Like my dad did.
and who was here the school teacher?
Lori.
No, the other one.
Oh, Krista.
Krista. She's a school teacher, and we're talking about the same thing. She says, you can't talk to the kids today. If you yell at them, it's called verbal abuse. Can't do it. If you want to spank a kid, you can't do it. When I went to school, old man Daly, if you ever went up to the office, or up to his office, you knew you were going to get it, and you got it good. And then you got a note to go home with it.
Yeah.
That, bang, he give it to you again. It's a different ball game. You can't touch the kids today. I tell you, kids aren't that stupid.
Yeah.
They know it.
Yeah.
They're smarter.
But still, hun, my dad never laid a hand on us. But even when John came back from the war, I guess on the ship, they gambled. Well, I had nothing else to do. But when he came back, his buddies got together and gambled too. And then one day after we had had supper and we had done dishes, and he said, John, I want you to stay at the table. And when we heard that, we knew, get out of here. You know, he's going to get a talking to. And my dad just sat down and explained and everything else with his money, you know, you're not going to get that money back and everything. And he explained it, and then John thought about it, and then he quit, you know. But he never, ever laid a hand on us. And as your dad knows, my dad was very soft-spoken. Yeah. And he didn't go around the house yelling or screaming, or sometimes when he mumbled, you could hardly hear him. Yeah. But the boys listened to what he said, you know. But I got a licking once.
You got what?
I got a licking once with my mother, with the fly swatter. But I deserved that. And I know I deserved that. My dad worked very hard, and I had black skates. But all the girls were getting white figure skates. I wanted white figure skates like right now, you know. And I was making a fuss at the table. And of course, Grandma Ball said, "Go to your room and stop right now." Well, I went to my room, but I didn't stop.
Still hasn't.
And so she warned me twice. And then she came in for the swat and gave me a good licking, and she said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. Your dad is doing his very best and working very hard for you children. He's fed you, he's given you all music lessons and everything. Now you're making a fuss about skates." Well, I felt so bad. I could have crawled under the bed. But I deserved that, yeah. But otherwise, no. I think Marion got it once too for being
Somewhere
disobedient.
down the line, they all got it.
Yeah.
You may not know about it, but somewhere down the line.
Well,
Because it's,
I don't think so.
well,
Yeah.
I know you don't think so, but I know that I got lickings because
Yeah,
I was no angel either.
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
But,
No,
Yeah.
that's it.
the boys had to help Grandpa if he
Oh,
was
yeah.
doing a job that he needed their help.
Yeah, and how
And they went. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was one thing, no matter what they were doing. And I remember one time the boys, there was so much snow, they made a ski run from the top of the garage to the empty field at that time. Yeah. And when my dad came home and saw that, he was furious. Well, he made and he always made the kids that helped too, they had to help undo it too. And that's the way he was. And like, if Jeannie, my girlfriend, was at our house, and we were must have been grade 9 or 10 already, and these kids came in a kind of a hot rod car to pick us up, and of course they're out there beeping the horn. And Jeannie and I got up, and he said, "You sit right back down. If they can't come to the door, you're not going." And Jeannie looked at my dad, and he goes to the window and looks out. "You shouldn't be in that car anyway." And he wouldn't let us go.
Oh my God.
And that was it. And Jeannie said to me after we were in the house and we went into the bedroom, she says, "What right is your dad to tell me what to do?" You know, she was really put out. But then she settled down, and yeah. But if we got it, whoever was with us got it too. Yeah. But Mom was really good to my girlfriends too. That's how Pearl Smith. I was involved with Pearl and Pauline. They were having trouble at school and everything too. The kids were really, really mean to them. Yeah. They call them Snowball and names, and you know. And so I said to them, "Well, come on over to our house. Mom will help," you know. And we'd all sit around the table, and she would help with our homework, you know. But they always had time, you know. Yeah.
Sheesh.
So
What about fond
different.
memories? Some of the better times.
huh?
Your fond memories.
Fond memories.
Of what?
Of better times
Some of
with
the
your
key
house.
moments that you remember being very fun.
All I really remember, Jim, is working my brains out from the time I could remember. I tell you, I was just a young kid during the Depression there, and Dad was poor. Dad was on relief. He came over from the old country there. he couldn't get a job. The job he did get paid 10 cents an hour, and he had to rely on what they called relief, or we call it charity today, or
Social services.
social help.
services, yeah.
But they didn't have it in those days. They got relief. They would go down, if there was old clothes there, you took them. Whether they fitted you or not. I had pants that never fitted me for years. Mom had to make them fit. And it was just tough, eh?
Yeah.
And I always wanted things like any boy. Eh? I wanted to sucker. I wanted to. So one guy says, you know, if you go to the lake or the golf course, you can get money if you dive. The guy puts the golf ball in there, you get money, you know. He might give you a penny. Well, I went out there and I damn near drowned. I give that up for a while. And then I began to walk the back alleys called garbage hunting. Going through all the garbage cans that's how I got my first airplane, my first model. It was on the radio that if you had 10 cents and 2 coupons from Kellogg's Corn Freeze, the tops, and you sent it into wherever, they would send you a model airplane. They had a picture of a beautiful model airplane. Geez, 10 cents. But 10 cents was hard to come by. Wow. That couldn't help me, but I walked, can't remember, found the bottle, found this, sold it to Maxie Goldman. Forget what that was. Anyway, finally I got a dime together, and I really cherished it. Now to find the Kellogg's cornflakes up, that was another cotton picking thing. Again, I walked down. Where I found my best stuff was the rich part of the city, which was down by the Wascana Lake. Where you drove us around?
Yeah.
Well, that was the rich part of the city. I go through the garbage cans, and I finally found 2 Kellogg's cornflakes. Great. I come home, and I said, look, Dad, I got all this. And I put the dime in the piece. He says, oh, you need a stamp. Stamp? Yeah, he said, you got to put a stamp on another damn penny. Jeez. So I went looking for some more. I finally found those, I forget what it was. And I got a penny stamp. I mailed the cotton picking thing in. And about, it seemed like forever, I got a little box about this big, that thick, that wide. That's my airplane. Oh, was I disappointed. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I opened it up, and the instructions were there how to build this thing. Well, I built it. It took a little while. And then my dad hung it, my bedroom, up on the roof like that on a nail. And I got really sick. I developed rheumatic fever. And for about a week, I don't remember nothing. And the next thing I do remember, I looked up and my airplane was gone, eh? I said, Dad, where's my airplane? Well, he said, I gave it to Dr. LeBoldus. Why? Well, he said, I didn't have any money to pay him, but he wanted that airplane for his son. Oh, did I cry. Oh, man. Anyway, that was my first airplane.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't have it that good. Like, my dad was so poor, eh? And anything I ever wanted, I had to go out and fight for it. And I mean fight for it, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still fighting for it.
So what about regrets?
Regrets?
Yeah.
Regret to being poor, that's what I say. Mind you, we grew up in the dirty 30s, which was no joke.
Yeah.
We had dust storms, like we had snowstorms. You couldn't see across the street because of dust.
I don't
And when the wind
remember
was
that
finished
either.
blowing,
Yeah.
it had banks, just like snow, up against the fences, up against the houses. And then the grasshoppers. Oh my God. We haven't seen grasshoppers the way I saw them when I was a kid. They come in hordes. You could hear them coming for miles. You hear this buzzing. And you look back there and you can see a big black cloud. We knew it wasn't rain because it was so damn dry in those years. And it was grasshoppers. And we wondered, where are these things going to sit down? Because wherever they sat down, at the farmers' fields, there'd be nothing left. It just cleaned it right out, you know. That was the dirty 30s. Yeah. And mosquitoes. You talk about mosquitoes now. Nothing compared to what we had to put up with. Mind you, we weren't scared of, what do you call it, West Nile?
West Nile. Or the,
We used to build-
fear was polio.
Yes.
Yeah, polio, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to, the people there had all, the roads weren't blacktop, mud, okay, garbage. And the sidewalks were wood.
Yep.
So every night in the summertime, everybody would come out and they would build a huge bonfire. And I mean a huge bonfire. and then we'd go around and pick up green grass. The grass was that high. We'd pick up as much green grass as we could, throw it on the fire. Well, that created a tremendous amount of smoke. Smoke here, smoke there, smoke there. We kept the mosquitoes down that way.
Right.
That's what we did with these smoke sponges, yeah. That's how I grew up. Or near the end of the fall, we used to go raid, well, we wouldn't raid, we'd just take potatoes and we'd roast potatoes on these fire. We eat them black and raw inside, but we ate them, you know. God. The dirty 30s were no fun, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But we grew up, and we didn't cry about it either. The trouble is today, the kids today, when I see it every day when I'm at Dave's there, a mother comes in with a kid, 5 or 6 years old, and she's buying whatever she buys, and all of a sudden they go, "Wah, I want this, wah, I want that." And maybe the mother, they can't afford it, you know, and the kid's howling and screaming, so she's got to drag him out. We wouldn't dare cry because my mom and dad couldn't give me something. Oh, forget it, we could lick them. Yeah. But now these kids, they scream and yell and holler just because they can't get a sucker or something, you know.
Yeah.
Different life altogether, Jim. Kids were brought up tough.
Yeah, Doreen and I've talked about
God.
it, and we say it's just a different world.
Yeah.
It is. It's a
different world.
complete different world.
Yeah,
Too much money.
yeah, and
Too much
my
money.
fond memories were around the house, you know.
Yeah,
we were
Christmas.
doing dishes. No, when we were doing dishes and everything, and Mom would start singing. We'd all start singing, and then if Dad felt like it, he'd get out his violin, and away we'd go, and we'd sing, and I had tap dancing, so I'd practice my tap dancing, and you know, it's just fun, and it was nothing for me. Like if we were singing or something, to go in and stand by my mom and with our arms around our waists or hug her or anything, that was nothing, you know. And if I didn't kiss my dad goodnight or goodbye when we were even married,
Yeah.
he would think, my God, something's the matter, you know, what did I do, you know?
Even after we were married, she'd always walk in and kiss Dad.
Oh,
Hi, Dad.
ours.
Give him a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they didn't do that till I joined the family. And Grandma folks said to me when I first hugged her, yeah.
No, we never hugged my mom and Dad.
No, you never did.
No.
And I said to Mom, you missed so much. And then she started hugging. Yeah. Because she felt comforted, you know, comforted with it too. But I mean, our whole family's huggy. And Doreen found that out when she went to Calgary with me and went to Bill's. And of course, Bill and Margaret come running out and hug me, and then turn around and hug Doreen, and she was standing there like, you know. But I don't know, it was just that way, you know. And my fond memories of that because of the good feeling it gave us. And Christmas. Always Christmas, yeah.
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. It was a big family.
We could not, my mom and Dad, like Dad was on welfare relief, and we could not, we never ate meat. We couldn't afford to buy meat. So we lived mainly on, we called it mamalika. That's Johnny shortbread, right?
Yeah, that's short
Cornbread.
cornbread.
And she was prepared different ways. And of course, flour, we always got flour from these people, from welfare. And Mom would cook bread. She cooked bread every day. And she always made which we used to like, was at the end of when she couldn't make a full loaf, she always would pat this and make a nice round circle. And she'd throw it into the oven for a few minutes. And she'd bring that out and we'd eat that with a bit of butter. And that was it. That's how we lived. But when Christmas came, for some reason or other, my dad always found enough money to buy a piece of ham. And he would cook the ham and also make gallettes, you know. And we'd go to church, Mom and I and Dad. We'd go to church. I was the altar boy. Dorothy came along too. Terry, and we'd say, "Oh, I tell you, Jim, midnight mass back in those days was
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable. Singing was just gorgeous. After mass, we'd come home 12 o'clock, and Mom would always bring out the ham. It was cold by then, and we'd eat ham and eat this bread. And that was a treat. That was our big treat for Christmas. And then next morning, we got a little bag, that big, with maybe an orange in it, Japanese orange, a couple of pieces of candy, and a couple of nuts. That was our Christmas present for years. Even after I almost got married, we never give gifts until Ruth and I got married. Then we started exchanging or making up gifts. Eh?
Yeah, because our family always did. If us kids
Yeah,
would,
you always did. Well, our parents
even
didn't
when
do
we were
that.
young, we
They couldn't afford
had
it.
made gifts for everybody. That's right. They were handmade, and and Grandma Ball always made something. Do you remember bouncing around on the dog, the horse, that brown dog?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she made this stuff for and we always had stuff like that, and that.
Yeah.
No, we were fortunate that way.
Being
Yes.
poor was no joke.
Well, we weren't rich either with 8
No, but
kids in the
I'll
family.
tell you had a lot more than my mom and dad ever did.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
that's right. Yeah,
God.
yeah.
That's probably one of the.
My dad used to.
That's probably one of the reasons, Dad, you work so hard.
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
to prevent that from happening again, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, things have changed.
Yeah.
There's so much wealth in the country today, and
Yeah.
kids expect it.
So what about wisdom?
Yeah.
What do you mean, wisdom?
The wisdom
Yeah.
you've learned over the years. What would you tell someone now raising a family?
I don't know.
I would say
Enjoy life.
keep
it's
the
too short.
family close. Because really, that is your treasure.
Yeah.
That is your treasure. Things, I guess I learned that when I was young. Things can come and go. And when family goes, that's when it hurts.
Yeah.
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 That's when it really hurts.
Yeah.
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 And Marilyn and I were just talking, looking at the pictures. You can see Grandpa and Grandma's house, Grandpa and Grandma Ball's house,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a picture, but that's all we have left now of them,
Yes.
Just the picture.
Just the
that
picture.
snip at a time.
But that's why I never fought to get stuff from Auntie Isabel that she'd taken out of the house.
Yeah.
Because I figured if she needed the things, then she needed them.
Yeah.
But I didn't, because I still had her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't care much for things, but I do care for people.
Yeah.
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 And that's what I think a bonded family gives it far more comfort. And they're there for you for life. Yeah. Yeah. Because even George, he came home every year. Yeah. And just to, and that you have to make an effort to keep that family bond. Yeah. And he's one that I have to keep urging him. Phone, Reg.
I just did.
Yeah, I know, but
I phoned
have
3
to-
times this week already.
Yeah, I know, this week, but it was a long time that you didn't phone him.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I think that was his biggest problem too.
Yes,
I think that's why he was sick.
Yes.
He felt like he
because
was
he
not
felt, well, you wasn't connected with
wasn't
him.
connected. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Once I started
And
talking
then-
to him,
yeah.
it was
Then
a
it's-
complete turnaround.
Yeah,
He began to go back to work again. He wasn't so depressed.
yeah,
I didn't realize it,
yes,
His wife
yeah,
or their side of the family, for
Are
some reason or
close.
other, probably didn't care as much for him,
yeah,
and he missed it because when he was a baby, God, I gave that kid everything.
yeah.
He wanted a pair of skates, I got it. Wanted gloves, I got it. Wanted this, I got it.
And it's not the same with me, He needed the connection with him. Yeah. And it's the same with Dot. I've slacked off with Dot a bit because I want him to phone her and get connected.
I do talk to her.
Yes, now you do. Yes. Yeah. Because that's so important. Yeah.
I phoned her this morning.
Yeah, I know you did.
Talk to
And
her.
I'm glad you did. Yes.
She's got a finger too.
Yeah, I know. I know.
She don't phone.
Yeah.
She would never phone. Reggie
Yeah.
said, I'm going to phone you. I said, I hope you do. She said, why didn't he phone me?
Yeah.
I had to phone,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was so down in the mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he didn't phone.
Well, that's right, because he was feeling like he wasn't connected at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I feel
And now
sorry
that they were here in June,
Oh, yeah.
they said they're coming back every year too.
Oh, yeah.
You're coming back again?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a big difference between then and now.
With Anne.
Anne,
Oh,
Anne was
yes.
just a complete different person.
Yeah, she
She
was.
helped
too.
and
Now
never
she
bossy.
knows the connection of a family
Yeah.
because of her two kids. Yeah.
before
and
she
her
come
mother.
down,
Yeah.
I want this. We were going to do this. We're going to do that. Blah, 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 blah. And
Oh.
we didn't want to do it. Now she's.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Nothing. That's fine. But nothing.
Yeah.
So would you have wanted to spend more time with family over the years as a
Yeah,
retired-
why not?
Well, yes.
How much
That's
time do you
right.
think we got left?
And
son?
just as I said to you on the phone,
I'm not
Jim.
kidding, huh?
Yeah.
How much time do you think we got left?
Yeah.
Very goddamn little,
Yeah.
son.
I
I wake up,
But-
no, another day.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I say. It's another day. Thank God.
What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, would
Yeah.
you have wanted to have spent more time if you
Yes.
could go back and do things over? would
Oh,
you?
definitely. But
Yeah.
in my situation, I was more concerned about. See, that's my biggest problem.
Yes.
I grew up in a
Yes.
dirty, stinking 30s.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't give me nothing.
Right.
Anything I wanted, I had to go out and bust my butt for. And I says to myself, if I ever have a family,
Yeah.
they're not gonna. Which is a big mistake. I'm never ever gonna do that. My kids will get whatever I can give them, whatever they want, which is not really right. I should let you fight for it, But I give you almost everything I could,
Yeah.
which is
But-
not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Might be a big mistake. I don't know. You're the only one that could ask that damn question.
yeah. But
Are you
lots
sorry?
of times, no.
Am I sorry?
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, I think you gave me a good balance. You started me off by giving me the things that I thought I needed, but then you let me work for the things that I
Yes.
should get.
Yeah.
I remember
Because-
one time when we were up in the shop, and I wanted a car, and you said you could have it, but I had to pay for it, and I was shocked. I thought, well, how come Dad's just not giving it to me anymore?
Yeah.
And it was a big wake-up call.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really was. It was
Yeah.
hard to take at the beginning, but it was the best thing you could have done because
Yeah.
Well, my dad just said, you want it? You
Yeah.
go out and learn it.
Yeah.
You just
value it.
told me. He said, I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
You
Then
You
you
wanna go
value
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'm not
That's
stopping
right.
you.
Yeah.
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 Don't steal.
I think it was a good balance for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's the trouble today with the kids.
Yeah.
They,
yeah, because lots of kids now,
Oh.
just as Dave told Pat, they'll work for a while and then they're gone, and he wonders, well, where are my staff? They don't even come in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just go from place to place, work a little while, and then they're gone again. And I mean, that's not good for their own record or their own. Yeah.
I was listening to a businessman talk on the radio, and he said now he only hires people who are over 50.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
'cause
says, they may be older, they may be moving slower, but I can count on them every day to be there.
That's
He
right.
says,
Yes.
The kids today,
Oh.
20 and 20, you don't
Ask
know whether they're going to
Dave.
be there or not, or rob you blind while they're there.
That's
That's
right.
right.
It's
That's
exactly what
right.
Dave. You must have been talking to Dave. Were you working with Dave? That's exactly what he
What he
said.
said,
The
yeah.
younger kids, he said, work for a while and they steal you blind because they figure they're not getting paid enough, so they want to make up for what they think they should be getting by stealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
That's sad.
Scary.
Yeah, and you can't count.
Well, you're a doctor. Say something.
Yeah.
So laying there.
Nurse.
What?
Nurse.
Sure what?
I'm a nurse, not a doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I don't
that's
know.
what I find different with the generations, though. They,
And drugs. There's a thing.
yeah,
Drugs.
they're,
Drugs.
yeah, they're
Guys
they
come
don't
in that
make
store, they're so
commitments.
stoned.
not
No.
to a spouse, not to
No.
a business, not,
Yeah.
nothing.
Do you know what, Mom? My bosses at the hospital, they said that they had all these RN jobs, full-time positions, and they couldn't get anyone to fill them. No one would even apply for them.
That's right.
So finally they took them and they started dividing them up into smaller, like maybe a 0.6, maybe 0.7, maybe 0.4.
Yeah.
Started splitting them all up into smaller
Jobs, yeah,
with more time off. Then they got the younger kids to take them.
yeah.
But they won't commit to full-time work.
No, that's
You want
right.
more time off?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to play.
They'd rather take a day off instead of a dime raise.
Yeah.
They want the
What
day
it
off.
is, their idea is that you
Yeah.
make enough money to go do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Whereas
then that's
us,
it. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like you work, and around your work, you do the things,
things
you
you want to do. Yeah,
Like our philosophy is different than theirs.
yes, very much so. Yeah. And
It's not
that's
this
what I
business about
find,
love thy neighbor
and I
anymore.
find
Forget it.
that, yeah,
Hate thy neighbor.
the school system has changed so drastically. Like, now they're more concerned about the child's social life.
Yeah.
And yet with us, it was a work life, you know?
You were
Uh,
lucky
and
if you had a job.
Yes. And you appreciated getting one.
Yeah.
Because my first job, when I was in school and I wanted a summer job, well, I couldn't find one. I went and applied all over. And then Mrs. McLeod, she knew somebody in the government that knew the guy from Canadian Hail and Underwriters. And so she got me an interview. And that's how I got in with them. And I worked with them every summer all through high school, you know, with Canadian Hail and Underwriters. And otherwise, I don't know where I'd have got a job. You know, but then you try and hold on to it. You do the job as best that you can put out so that you hold that job.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
Now,
Yeah. But not anymore. Forget it.
Yeah.
you
Dave is
go
so mad.
you go into Walmart,
Oh,
and I bet the majority of their staff are older women. Yeah. And when Dreen and I were there, I forget what we were looking at, and Dreen asked the lady, who was an older lady too, and she says, well, I'll try and get somebody with a ladder, but she says, we are so short of staff.
Yeah.
There you are, yeah.
Sheesh.
You
Take
know,
away
and that's
welfare.
a shame with all the people on welfare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
easy to come by, so they why should they?
yeah.
Like these
So-
kids across the street, they're not crazy. We're the ones that are nuts. They get all the cigarettes they want, the cars they want, the food they want. And all they're gonna do is come outside and smoke. You and I gotta go work.
But not anymore, yeah.
Well, but still, you
Yeah.
know what I mean. Right.
But I still think I grew up in the best generation.
Yeah, me too.
You grew up in a
It might have
little
been dirty
bit
30s, but I'll tell you one
but-
thing.
Yeah,
Right now, it's a rat race out there.
Yeah.
Drugs and crime scare the hell out of you. We never had crime.
yeah, hardly.
Oh,
Like we
no,
never
no,
had our
no.
doors open. We didn't lock our cars or nothing. You know, you could go out for a walk at night and know for sure nobody was going to conk you on the head
Yeah,
or
oh, God,
rob
yeah.
you or
Sure. Nowadays, don't dare walk down. Even in the daytime, you don't walk down the street, some guy knife
Yeah.
you or rob you.
Yeah, but
back
still,
up the
my
street 2 days
dad,
later.
if it really got dark, and say Jeannie had to go home, he would say, "Come on, Ruth, we're walking her home," and we would walk her home, and then Dad would walk me back to the house.
Yeah.
But that was just because we did it, you know, and he didn't want anything happen to her when she was on her way home. But I don't know, you didn't have to worry. Yeah.
No, not like now.
One of my favorite memories is Dad had bought a small Christmas tree, and the pine needles were just falling off it like you would not believe. And so he was too afraid of fire. And so he was taking down the Christmas tree, and Mary and I walked to the Albert Library. We always went to the library. I loved it when she used to read the animal stories to me. That's how young I was. But we walked to the library and we picked up some books, and then on the way home, the tree lot was throwing out their trees, and they had a small one there. And Mary went over. We did not steal it.
She stole it.
Yeah. Mary
First time of a crook.
went over, and she asked, "Are you going to throw that little one out?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Nobody's going to put up a tree now, you know." And so she said to me, "You take a lower branch, and I'll take a lower branch, and wood sidewalks." And she said, "And we'll carry it home and put it up, and we'll have our tree." And so I said, "Okay," and we walked along, and it started to snow so gently and nice. And we walked along home, dragging this tree, singing Christmas carols.
So did Dad put up the tree?
Yeah, then we could go in and put up the tree. Yeah, we got it up, yeah.
I remember going to Grandma and Grandpa Ball's. You guys must have gone there Sunday night or something or other. It was a regular.
Yeah, we went once a week to Mom and Dad's.
I
Yeah.
remember when we
Once every 2 weeks, yeah.
We would play with those cars and trucks on the floor.
Yeah.
And I always remember we would leave just around the time the Untouchables would start.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the theme would come
Yeah,
on?
yeah, the theme would come
I
on.
remember that, yeah. Then we'd drive home and I'd be laying in the back seat watching the lights go as we're going home.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there's different things that you remember, you know, when you think about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember one year, Jim was sending gifts from England for Christmas. And Isabel had wanted this doll with real hair. And I don't know how he found it. But we were both very young, and we were going to go out this morning carrying candles to see the gifts under the tree and everything. We went out, and she saw this doll, and she went like this, and she caught her hair on fire.
Oh, no.
And so I had to scream and get her hair, and Mom come flying out of the bedroom.
How'd she get her hair on fire?
With the candle.
Oh.
And of course we got scolded for lighting candles, but anyway, I remember that. She was so shocked to see this doll with real hair. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, kids do stupid things, but we thought that was going to be really cool, you know, go out with candles. Yeah.
What about Christmas gifts? Do you remember the Christmas gifts that were Christmas gifts
What about him?
that you got that were just special that one particular year?
Yeah,
No,
one.
Jim, I never got Christmas gifts.
Yeah, they didn't
Believe
do
me,
it.
never.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said before, the only time we ever started getting gifts is when I married your mother.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad never gave gifts.
No.
Like I said, we'd come home
Yeah.
from church, and Mom always had ham, fresh bread, and buns, and that's what we ate. That was our Christmas treat.
Yeah.
Next morning, we never got nothing. It was just Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Until once we got married, Ruth, Mom started giving gifts. Well, then my mom and Dad started giving gifts back
Yeah.
and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I never got nothing for Christmas then.
Yeah.
Not even nothing. Oh, I take it back. I got a rosary when I became the altar boy. My dad bought me a rosary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I went to say mass with the priest, I had a rosary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad,
Yeah.
if he didn't have a good month, then he would go and buy broken toys.
Oh.
And he would take them in the garage, and he would fix them and paint them, but we always got them under the tree. Yeah. Yeah.
What did your dad do for a living?
He was a carpenter.
Now I remember something too that I completely forgot.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When I was just a kid, I must have been maybe 3 or 4 at the most. And Dad had made carved 2 wooden horses out of logs of some kind, and had them all dressed up, painted white, and the saddle beautiful. I thought they were beautiful anyway. I remember he gave me one of those for Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then for some dumb reason or other, somebody came and took them.
Oh.
Yeah. Somebody wanted them.
Yeah, that was one thing about Grandpa Folk. If somebody wanted something, he gave it whether it was yours or not.
Oh,
Whether
geez.
his or not. Yeah.
Anyway, it's all history.
Yeah.
All in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a sore shoulder.
Yeah.
How long is that thing gonna go?
We can stop now.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm getting sore in the
It's
shoulder.
been 3 hours almost. Of
Hey.
much fun now.
Yeah. To date him. And
Shoot the
no, she took me in the bedroom and she said, Ruth, now you have to be really. She always take me in the bedroom when you were going to have a girl-to-girl talk.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, Ruth, now you really have to think about this. And she says, you have 3 strikes against you, and you know that. She said, one is your religion. Mary broke the ice for me on that because she married a Catholic.
Mm.
But she had a bad time with Mom and Dad when she married a Catholic.
Oh.
Yeah. But she broke the ice with me on
And
that.
what were
But
you guys?
we were United Church.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Protestant.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah. She says, you've got your religion. You've got your backgrounds. The German background is far different from our Scottish background.
Yeah. Wait. Ouch.
Yeah.
Way different. And she said, and then you've got your height. And she said, if any one of these are going to be a big problem in your life, she says, you got to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says, I don't want your answer or anything now. She said, this is for you to think about. Yeah. And then when I made up my mind and I told Mom and Dad, yeah, I have to marry that jerk. Then they were all for him, and Dad was good too. Yeah.
No, I don't think your dad ever regretted it, did he?
No, he never
No.
did. He
Neither did your
never
mother.
did. No,
No.
they really loved you. Yes.
So
Yeah.
then how'd you get along with her brothers? Weren't your brothers
Oh,
protected?
the brothers?
Yeah.
I mean, John and
And
oh,
Jim
I had
and
no
George.
trouble with-
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
heck
No.
no.
No. No.
Oh, no.
No.
5 and 6.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't phone John often enough.
Huh? Well, no, because he's stuck in with Louise and I'm stuck in with my knee. What are we going to
I
do?
know,
Dance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, George
No,
always
I
used to
phone
come
him.
here. Oh,
Yeah.
her brother, her oldest brother, every year he used to come here.
Yeah.
And he'd stay here for a couple of weeks. Oh,
Yeah.
we got on real good. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jim, when we went to, not Jim,
Bill.
Bill went to Calgary. Oh,
Oh,
no.
yeah. Yeah.
Except I was so damn sick when I was always out there.
Yeah.
I don't know why the hell I always got sick.
Well, I don't know. You had something about traveling.
Something.
Because you were
I
always
was
sick.
okay. I'd get to Medicine Hat. I'd get sicker than a dog. But
It was
You know something I
anxiety,
thought-
Jim. But he won't realize that.
What's
he
that?
won't. I said it was anxiety, and
No,
you won't
I-
listen to.
but-
Yes.
But you know one thing we did find out one morning, driving that stupid Chrysler out there. Remember how? Maybe you don't remember, but I was getting woozy and headachy driving
Yeah.
this car. I couldn't. What the hell is wrong with me? I think I have to stop. I said I got to put the window down. We were getting carbon monoxide in that damn car, and I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if we weren't doing that all this time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. When I got out in the fresh air, boom! You know.
Yeah. That.
I always drove with the air open
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. But.
I can tell you I can't drive
yeah.
too far without getting sick.
No, he got along with everybody fine in the family. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, her dad just.
Oh, John always teases him about being a grouse because that's why he bought this carpet. Right now it's covered.
Her dad just did this once. He brought the shotgun up out the closet, put a shell into it, cocked it. He says, "Now, what are you gonna do?" That was it. Right? That was it. I couldn't do that. That's what they call a shotgun wedding.
This is what
Yeah.
they brought back from Arizona for me.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
they
guys.
always-
Oh,
Yeah, they always tease him about being a grouch, but that's it, yeah.
Sheesh, well, that's good information. My gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with
Yeah,
us.
that's really
Yeah.
good.